Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Arden Street. Jason Bennett alongside Riley Beveridge from afl.com.au for North Melbourne's first intra-club match of 2023.
Probably as close to the round one side as you'd get at the moment. Obviously, there's going to be a couple of players that are playing in this yellow side today that would likely be in that round one side. Todd Goldstein, one of them. The ruck battle really interesting here because it'll be Tristan Jerry against Todd Goldstein. They just want them to go head-to-head throughout the entirety of the day.
Yep. So in the middle of the ground, Jerry, Cunnington, Davies, Uniac and Zurhaar in the blue. Goldstein, Greenwood, Howe and Harvey. Lots of special guests throughout the day, so join us, stay with us. And away we go for 2023. Davies Uniac gets first touch. He's immediately tackled by Cooper Harvey, son of Brent. It'll be a free kick and it's going to go Cooper's way. He'll get the first meaningful disposal of the game. Drives it high and long inside 50. It's Free versus Mackay. Here's Spicer at ground level. Couldn't get a kick away. Free taken to the deck. In fact, it's Coleman Jones taken to the deck.
Really interesting from the first bounce. Cam Zurhaar's been training through the midfield a lot this pre-season, and seeing him in there the first bounce is a sign of things to come, I think.
Good test of our commentary skills. Half the players we haven't seen before and the other half aren't wearing numbers, but we'll stay with us. We'll do our best. Stevenson couldn't control it. Bailey Scott immediately harassed by Lowson. It comes back to Stevenson now. Cunnington. He retreats to McDonald, who kicks to the wing. Bit of space here for Paul Curtis. He marks in front of Goldstein. Wants to move it on quickly. Got a man in the middle. Zurhaar. He's immediately run down. Has to release. He's got numbers forward of the football. Turner has got a man out wide in space. It's Jerry who's pushed forward. And he'll go back and have the opening shot of the game.
Yeah, the extra number the whole way through that passage, then the blue side. And Tristan Jerry made the run from half back. He contested that ball at half back and made his way forward. So some good gut running from him.
He's had steady progression, hasn't he, Tristan Sherry, since joining the program in 2018. Played 29 VFL games in his first 2 years and has just steadily worked his way into the AFL frame. And he and Todd Goldstein found a way to coexist at senior level last year. And his ability to go forward and hit the scoreboard matters. Opening goal to the blue team, it's through Tristan Sherry. When you think he's still just 23 years of age, Riley, his upside's enormous.
Yeah, it is. It's massive. And it's going to be an interesting situation to watch throughout the entirety of the year. We saw North go with a three-ruck approach in round one last season with Jerry Goldstein and Coleman Jones. They dropped that quickly thereafter, but just how Alistair Clarkson balances that going forward and what his approach to that ruck setup will be, because obviously Todd Goldstein, we know what he's done over such a long time in an AFL system, but Jerry and Coleman Jones up until last year were pretty unexposed at senior level. So seeing them now and seeing them have this potential now, their partner today, Jerry and Coleman Jones, and how they'll work going forward is going to be intriguing to watch. And it's going to be intriguing to see how it plays out throughout the year in terms of who Alistair Clarkson selects.
And with the idea of the Medi sub just being replaced by another sub, it actually gives clubs a little more freedom to play the extra tall, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So the 23rd man being in the picture gives them another option.
Sherry down to Zurhaar, off to Cunnington. Sheasel starting at half back, takes it off the back of the square. Zurhaar. Scott, now Davies Uniac, almost run down by Spicer. Gets one in the back as he kicks it. It's going to come back. It'll be a free kick to Luke Davies Uniac.
So it was an interesting pick up there that Harry Sheasel has actually started this game playing across half back. So it's a fascinating one to watch. He spent the majority of his junior career as a forward, a really crafty forward, but he's playing across half back today.
Kick inside 50, off the hands of the contest. Chance for yellow maybe to clear it. Although Curtis is on the bottom of that pack, has the football, he's wrapped up. I mean, Sheasel can play a bit of midfield as well, Riley, and has done so, just rounding out his skill set, I guess, and giving him multiple opportunities to play in different roles.
And we saw players like Nick Dacos play in that position last year in the first year in their system. It helps them just give them a bit of freedom. It frees them up. They don't have the responsibility of having to hit the scoreboard every week. They can win loose possession. If you look behind the ball now, 20 metres off the play, Sheasel's by himself. He's playing that loose role, so just a bit less of a responsibility and a bit more ability for him to express himself as a footballer.
Great skills and good overhead as well, so could play a role across half-back at times. A kick from Young goes towards half-back. It's a free kick. It's going to Lowson. Gives it off to Louis Butler, the ex-Bulldog, who goes down the line. Coleman Jones couldn't keep it alive. Coleman Jones versus Mackay.
Just talking of matchups, another interesting one. You might notice that Griffin Logue is on the yellow team today. That's because he's had a bit of an injury-interrupted pre-season in the sense that he dislocated his finger and he wasn't able to train for a couple of weeks just to avoid infection. So he's only playing a half today and he'll start in the yellow side as a result of that. He's actually matched up on Nick Larkey at the moment. So it'll be a good opportunity for Griffin Logue, the new North Melbourne recruit from Fremantle over the off-season, to test himself against one of the Kangaroos' best forwards in Nick Larkey. So if you are sitting at home and wondering why Griffin Logue's on the yellow side, that's why.
Kick inside 50 from Greenwood, and over the top came Goldstein to take a good strong mark. Outmarks Perez. And a chance here for Goldstein to go and answer at the other end. Sherry goes forward, kicks a goal at one end, and a chance for Todd to respond.
Yeah, I think it's a role we'll see probably more often from Todd Goldstein this year, drifting forward with the abundance of young rucks they've got coming through the system at the moment, North Melbourne. So if Goldstein can go forward and hit the scoreboard more frequently, it'll be a big positive for North Melbourne this year.
He's accurate in front of goal. 28-10 in his last 2 years, Todd Goldstein.
Oh, you've mozzed him.
Well, it's early in the season, but good to see my commentator's curse is already up and running.
Some things never change, Jace. Jack Zeeble back in defence this year as well, which is another interesting thing to watch, taking the kick-ins.
Yep, that'll be his plan, to play 100% of the time behind the ball. He's bounced forward and back throughout his career. Davies Uniacke, lovely weighted kick. Cunnington, they come straight through the middle. Here's Simpkin. Floats a kick inside 50. Tough one for Zurhar to control. Coming through is Logue, runs into Zurhar. Ball is released. Turner lays a tackle. Umpire said it was a throw. It's going to be a blue ball going against Jack Watkins, the VFL skipper. It's coming back to Kane Turner. Interesting year for him. Was cut to the rookie list. At 27 years of age, feels like a critical year for Kane Turner.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a period late last year, where it was uncertain whether or not he'd be on a list. In 2023, he's managed to find his way back onto North Melbourne's list. Highly valued internally for his leadership as well. So that's probably another big reason why he's back at the Kangaroos this year.
From 48 metres out, he pulls it left. It's a sign of a healthier list when you start to get players who are AFL quality on the outside looking in. And it feels like right now, particularly when North are healthy as they are, and we'll run through some of their missing players today for you. But it feels like they can get some real depth, which will also help with their VFL program, which then helps develop your kids. Leanit's kick, former Saint. He's a defensive development coach this season, playing coach for them, which is really important. Jared Leanit, you know, with the experience that he has, Riley, to have a player like that at 28 years of age with 34 AFL games under his belt, to be able to help the kids and coach them on the field as they go is just invaluable.
You mentioned that before, just how important it is for young sides and rebuilding sides at VFL level, where a lot of the kids are going to play, just to have some senior experience around them. And I think it's a big reason why North targeted players like Dan Howe, who is such a successful player at Hawthorn for such a long period, has that history with Alistair Clarkson. He's another one that's on this yellow side today that I think we'll see a fair bit of throughout the year.
Greenwood, Noblet. Flips it back. This is Ben Davis, former Adelaide Crow, another with some experience, some AFL experience, who's come onto the VFL list. Ben Davis played 11 AFL games for Adelaide, originally out of the Sydney Academy, and was delisted last year after playing 5 games and being emergency in 10. But he comes with 71 games of SANFL experience as well, and in his prime at 25, he'll be useful sitting behind the ball in the VFL. Will Phillips couldn't control it. It spits out to Goldstein. This is Noblet. Finds a little bit of space. Kicks to half forward. Coleman Jones. Was he shoved in the back? Yes, he was. Free kick. Wants to move it quickly. Drives towards the pocket. The mismatch was Free versus Zeeble. And this is Hamish Free. 24-year-old. Big man, 203 centimetres, 105 kilos, from Mandurah and South Freo. He was the Waffle Team of the Year ruck last year, Riley, and could be the best ruck in the VFL, according to Tom Lynch. Just needs to be patient. He's got a few ahead of him.
Yeah, he's taken the rookie draft last year, Hamish Free, and it's noticeable when you see him around the ground just how big he is. He's a bit robotic in his movement, as you can probably suggest there from the kick, but he's going to be one that's really promising. A few mature age pick-up from the Waffle, as you mentioned, 24 years old. So, yeah, he'll be one to watch throughout the year. A lot of development still left in him, I think. I don't think we'll see him exposed too much at senior level this year, but certainly one to watch in the VFL.
And as Todd Goldstein reaches the twilight of his career, one that they've drafted for the future, Stevenson. Kick towards half forwards, beautifully weighted for Coleman, who's one we're really looking forward to watching today. Takes the grab, goes inside 50. Larkey the target. Good body work there from Logue. He goes to Noblet, 19-year-old from the Camberwell Sharks and Oakley. It's a bit stiff not to get drafted, Alex Noblet, according to Tom Lynch. Gets an opportunity on the VFL list here at North. This is Cooper Harvey. Kick partly smothered. Made it difficult for Watkins. He's Noblet again, getting plenty of it early. Off to Bode Stevens. Kick towards half forward. We'll get to the back. Coleman Jones, lovely pick-up. Here's Free. Cruising on by. Great vision. Got a man in space. It's Lazaro. Will it sit for him? He's going to be closed down by Ford. looks inboard, goes back towards Free, draws the attention of a few, taken by Greenwood to Free on the goal line, and Yellow hit the front.
He's looked good early, Hamish Free. He's getting around in that forward line. He's mobile for a big man. We mentioned before he's a bit robotic in his movement, but it doesn't mean he can't get across the ground. He's been patrolling that forward 50 throughout the opening stages of this game and gets himself a goal, which he deserved. You mentioned before his great vision in the kick to Charlie Lazaro. Just didn't execute it, but worked hard to get back to the goal square and finish what he started, really, and get the Yellow team's first goal of the afternoon.
So all the bigs getting involved. Sherry kicks a goal at one end. Goldstein misses his chance at the other, and Hamish Free has a couple of shots as well. So critical in modern-day footy that you can have tall players that actually can play multiple positions and have a genuine impact on a game, not just in the ruck.
So I'm just looking across at the positioning at the moment. So Jaden Stevenson going forward again this year. He's used across half-back late last season for North Melbourne, but he's one that's pushed forward again over the summer and looking to make an impact on the senior team this year.
4 flat 25-minute quarters. This is Watkins to Howe. Pops it over the top. Lowson, good running. This is Watkins who ran on. Was run down by Simpkin, affected the kick. Goes back, tries to win it. And Blue have got some numbers. It's Zeeble to Simpkin. Again, will attack up the middle of the ground. Coming out to meet it was Dawson. Led Comben to the football. He's then stripped of it by Curtis. Picked up by Comben. Feeds it back to Simpkin. Chance for Phillips. Run from behind comes from Bergman. Little chip kick-ish. Tidy. Finds Scott. Get and go. Runs to 60 metres. Drives towards the top of the square. Logue up in front again. Made a good start, Griffin Logue.
Jeez, he's had a couple of really good intercept marks to start this game. I was told he was absolutely killing it after Christmas at pre-season training. Looked like one of the best on track. Then obviously had that compound dislocation of the finger, which meant the bone was protruding from the skin. And obviously,
fortunately, no fracture.
Yes, but had to get it stitched up, and that's why he hasn't been training the last couple of weeks, just to avoid infection, avoid some sweat getting into it.
Blake Drury rolls out the barrel, but it's cut off by Bonner. And again, they can build from half-back through Bergman. Punches the kick wide, finds Stevenson. He'll go down the line. In space here is Eddie Ford. Thought about the handball to Scott cruising past. Will go himself. Wheels around onto his right. From 55 metres, launches it high and long. Comben will have the sit. It'll spill to the front. Lovely front and centre from Curtis. Oh, and he misses.
Tell you what, it's exciting though. Paul Curtis, I loved what I saw from him last year when he got exposed to AFL footy. I think he could be one of the most exciting small forwards in the comp in the future. I've seen such great things from him, particularly at junior level at the Western Jets. Then when he got his opportunity last year, I think he could be a real find for North Melbourne. Was taken with a pick in the 20s in that 2021 draft, and I think he could be a real player for them.
Can have an impact in the air or on the deck. Played mainly deep forward previously, but suggestion this year he might play a little bit higher up the ground. A Luke Bruce type who pushes up and back and loses his man on the way back, or even up to the wing. He's got the ability to do that as Goldstein flies over the top. Nice pick up from Howe. Works himself into a bit of space. Off to Drury. Slight fumble, but time to go back and win it. Gives it to Noblet. Alex has made a good start. Kick to half forward, and Lowson, who was just one rolled ankle away from being on an AFL list a couple of years ago in the mid-season draft. He was going to be taken at pick 1, but sliding doors. He missed his opportunity, unfortunately, as Ben Mackay takes the intercept grab. Perez. Now to Tom Powell. Cruising by is Bonner. Draws a man, pops it over the top. And his Turner in some space can accelerate and have a bounce. Will be confronted by Stevens. So we'll try to swing it to half forward for Curtis. Well done by Howe. Got it to the deck. Cunnington flips it over the top. Larkey. Comben. Running out of space. Tries to keep it alive. It ricochets. He hacks it out of midair. Out of bounds on the full.
It's just a sign of the athleticism that he's got. Charlie Comben, he's... Sorry.
I know you sound...
Coughing attack.
You sound emotional, but it's just a coughing attack here for Riley.
It's been a long journey for him, though, Charlie Comben, in the sense that he's had so many injury issues through his time in the AFL system, so it's great to see him out there.
Stress fracture in his back in 2020, didn't play, and then a stress fracture in his leg and a broken collarbone in 21. One AFL game last year, Charlie Comben, but a prodigious talent. Free. Lazaro. Now Howe. They look to switch. Lockie Young's got some time to track this down. effective switch gets them to Bode Stevens at right half back. So 10.5 minutes remaining in the opening term. North Melbourne's first intra-club of 2023. Ben Davis bites off a bold kick to the back edge of the square, and it works for Howe, and it opens up the corridor. Greenwood's got to be quick. He's run down from behind by Phillips. That affected the handball. Chance here for Blue to tidy up. Phillips goes back, wins it again. Well played. Got it to Cunnington. Ford takes the grab just inside 50. And Larkey tracking back towards goal. So the turnover came in the middle of the ground, and the yellow defenders had pushed up. Hugh Greenwood just puts his hand up and apologises. He was run down from behind by Phillips, and that forced the turnover, which results in this shot at goal for Nick Larkey.
I wonder what Nick Larkey's ceiling could be as an AFL footballer. Because I think he could be a 50, 60 goal a year player in a better side. We've seen him hit the scoreboard frequently for a North Melbourne side that's struggling in the last couple of years. So if they get some success, it's a dead eye in front of goals we've just seen there. I think he could be a very good player going forward. 120
goals, 45 in his AFL career so far. So he takes his chances when he gets them. Kicked 38-18 last year, 42-15 the year before. And hasn't he proven to be value, Riley? Picked 73 in 2016. And when someone who you roll the dice on late like that ends up being a core piece of your premiership whiteboard going forward, it's just a huge bonus.
That 2017 draft is incredible late on in the draft, because then you mentioned Mitch Lewis was the pick after him, or the pick before him. I think it was a really late pick and has developed into a really good footballer and a really good forward at Hawthorn. So some late value in that draft in terms of the key position stocks. And Nick Larkey's had a great career so far, and as I mentioned before, if North can generate some success this year, get the ball inside 50 a bit more, he could be anything as a forward prospect, and he could be a 60-goal-a-year goal kicker going forward.
Back to the middle of the ground. Blue lead it by a goal with 8.5 minutes left in the opening term. Drury off the back of the square. Booted forward. Inside 50 again. That's a good strong grab up in front. Mark taken by Sellers. This is Tyler Sellers from Scotch College and Old Scotch. Had a super year last year. Was in their team of the year and won their best and fairest. He's a promising youngster in their VFL program, and he delivers it inside 50, and a chance for Cal Coleman-Jones to get a shot at goal. So another a chance to hit the scoreboard early.
This is Cal Coleman-Jones' point of difference, the fact he can play as a natural forward. If he wants to work his way into this North Melbourne side and become a player that plays 20-plus games throughout a campaign, I think he has to show this aspect of his game a bit more, the ability to hit the scoreboard, because that's his point of difference to guys like Tristan Jerry and Todd Goldstein.
Yep. With a guy like Charlie Comben now fit and looking for that spot alongside Nick Larkey, there's some competition in that spot. Yep. So if Cal Coleman-Jones, they might end up sort of competing against each other for that same spot, Comben and Coleman-Jones, so you're going to have to take your chances.
Yeah, like we've seen from Charlie Comben over the pre-season, he's a player that hasn't had much footy given injury issues throughout his junior career and then when he's arrived at the Kangaroos, but I think it's a big year for him. It's a contract year for Charlie Comben. He's only played 2 games of senior footy in the past. He needs to become another mainstay of this North Melbourne forward line.
And right on cue, he has the football at half-back. Plays on. Sheasel tries to squeeze it through the gap, can't quite do so. Turnover will come. Here's Lazaro, spins through a tackle, gets the arms free, releases to Greenwood. Spots a target at half-forward, but just overcooked the kick. Mark taken by McDonald. And Blue will look to switch. Mackay wants to draw a man. Bonner goes long. Curtis is the target. He'll have to go against a couple. Well done, Jared Lena. Peeled off his man. Smacks it to the line.
There's a couple of really interesting positional things I think we can watch this year. We've mentioned Cam Zerha already going through the centre a couple of times from the centre bounce, but even here he's pushed up to the wing. He's going to contest himself at this stoppage as well as a midfielder. He's got that brute power and that brute force, which allows him to become a really powerful option for them.
Yeah, that's the next level in his development, isn't it? Is that hybrid forward mid-type that every club's looking for. Zerha run down from behind on that occasion by Dan Howe.
Tell you what, if you're part of the yellow team, you're probably thinking the biggest advantage you've got as an AFL footballer is being a teammate of Cam Zerha's, and now you're forced to play against him on today. You wouldn't want to be tackled by him, would you?
He wins the football there. Fall-away handball is cleaned up by Ford to Phillips. Goes looking for Cunnington, punched away by Leonard. Again, Curtis front and centre. Fends off 2 or 3. Well played, Paul Curtis, and then delivers in the common direction. Will it sit for him? Lazaro will look to try and run him down. Pressures him. Tries to release. Well done. Nicely picked up there by Powell. And from the angle, heads goalward, hits the post. So Tom Powell, another talented youngster, 20 years of age, originally from Sturt, taken at pick 13 in the 2020 draft, North's second pick in that draft, and since gone on to play 31 games. He's another one of that exciting next group. He's got a bit of a base underneath him now, Riley, and now able to launch in that next phase of their career.
Yeah, they're the players that North will be really hoping can step up this year if they are to take that next step as a football club. I mean, guys like Tom Powell, who had a really impressive maiden campaign, but then probably plateaued a little bit last year. Another one in the blue, the stronger blue side today, so it goes to show just what they think of Tom Powell, guys like Tom Powell and Will Phillips.
Greenwood to Noblet. Now Dan Howe. It's going to be another useful resource. Spent 7 years with Alistair Clarkson at Hawthorn, so Clarko knows exactly what he's getting. Coleman Jones off to Butler. High and long inside 50. Good strong mark taken there by McDonald against Sellers.
New co-captain, Jason.
McDonald and Simpkin, changing of the guard as that next generation starts to take ownership of the club. Zerha to Scott. Now Perez. High to half forward. Larkey will set himself. Curtis will hang off the back and receive the handball. Just a little behind him, so Larkey's got to go back and try and find it himself. Draws a couple of tacklers. Curtis shrugs the shoulders, keeps it alive. Larkey under some pressure. He's run down by Noblet. Coming in over the top with Simpkin, couldn't control it. Stevenson's bustled out of the way. Desperation there. Good scrambling defence from Yellow, and it's going to be rewarded. Free kick will go to Hugh Greenwood. Touched off his boot, taken by Butler. Back towards Coleman Jones on the wing, and he takes the grab. Got a man cruising past. It's Harvey. Well done by Sherry. Did enough, but Harvey manages to wriggle free. Logue has to be quick, it is. Noblet taken down by Zerha. Bounce towards half forward. McDonald's run down from behind. Nice tackle there from Lawson. Advantage will be paid. Howe will deliver it inside 50. Got a couple of options. Sellers gets to the front. Couldn't hang on to the grab. Taken to the ground. Spicer lays the tackle on Powell. Ball up. 20 metres out from the yellow goal. They trail by one kick. 3 minutes to play in the opening term at Arden Street. Davies Uniacke. Powell. Now Bergman. Sizzles a kick on his left. Didn't quite hit the target, but it'll work nicely for Turner. Ford will link up with Kane through the middle of the ground. Runs away from Drury. Goes towards Comben. He marks it half forward. Stevenson offers the short lead. Will go a little deeper. Curtis will hang off the back of this. Well done. Good spoiling work again from Griffin Logue. Got back in the contest and belted it through.
Just about been best on ground, Griffin Logue, in the first the overwhelming majority of this first quarter. He's been really solid back there. A couple of big intercept marks. Got back at a goal-saving spoil over the line then. He's come up just feeling his ribs there, but I think he'll be okay. Maybe just a bit winded from that incident.
And Larkey came together pretty solidly in that contest.
But some continuity for him as well. So he's pushed forward a lot last year at Fremantle. And I think one of the big selling points from North Melbourne when he was traded to the club last October was that you'll have this solid position at fullback where you want to play your footy. That'll be your position for the foreseeable future.
Howe to Lawson to Goldstein. Good ball movement here from Yellow. Coleman Jones has got good position. Well done, Bonner. Identified the danger early. Left his man Edwards got across as third man in cover defence and smacks it out of bounds.
It's what you want to see from a guy like Aidan Bonner, who's got the physical build. He might not be as tall as other key defenders in the competition, but he's got that build where he can get across as the third man into a contest and spoil it over the line, just kill a contest out as that defender.
And the arrival of Logue will free up the likes of Bonner and Core to have more suitable matchups physically. They can play more as the second or third defender rather than getting the gorillas. Greenwood tries to barge through Simpkin. It's flipped out. Umpire said that was a throw.
Yeah, both Core and Bonner recruited from the Giants, and I don't think either was recruited to be the number one key defender, but just injuries and absentees in the backlines forced them to play probably taller than what they are. But I think their more preferred position is to play on small forwards and to play on third tall forwards and intercept and get to contests like Aidan Bonner did then. So they'll have the opportunity to do that with Griffin Logue there this year, and with Ben Mackay, who we just saw with the footy, playing some of the best footy of his career as well.
Yeah, it gives them a lot more versatility in their back half to be able to match up on different shapes and sizes, that's for sure. Bonner. Thumps it high towards the wing. It'll clear Larkey. Logue. Ball's flipped out. Nick Stevens. Kick towards half forward. And here's Mackay again behind the football taking the grab.
One of the best intercept marks in the competition, Ben Mackay, last year. And I think the way North is going to play their footy under Alistair Clarkson this year will probably mean he's got more opportunity to do that this year, to drift off the man, take more intercept marks. So that's something to watch throughout the season.
Went looking for Stevenson. It was slapped away there by Bode Stevens, 19-year-old from Strathfield Say and Bendigo. Last couple of years at the Pioneers. He's come into the North VFL program this year. He's a wing half back with plenty of power, and that is quarter time in North's first Intraclub for 2023. And it is the blue team, 2-3-15, leading the yellow team 1-3-9. Your initial thoughts, Riley, from what was a pretty competitive opening term?
Yeah, it was very competitive, considering probably the disparity in strength of the two sides. I think the yellow side competed very well. I thought Griffin Logue, as we mentioned, was probably best on ground to quarter time with just that ability to intercept, take a couple of really strong marks to get his fist onto everything. Aerially, in the back line for the yellow side was really impressive, but a lot of good signs out there for North Melbourne at the moment.
And we know Alistair Clarkson's style of football is heavily defensively focused, but they made the point yesterday that they want the balance of offence and defence, and we saw a lot from the blue team. If they were given the corridor in that opening term, they took it.
Yes, they did. And a lot of players there that can do that. Jack Siebel, we know how calm and composed he is under pressure. He's gone back there this year. Luke McDonald, the new co-captain of the Kangaroos, is a player that's got composure across half-back, and they've trialled Harry Sheasel, their number 3 pick from last year, in a defensive role throughout the first quarter today, and he had a couple of really nice moments as well.
Quarter time here at Arden Street. The blue team lead it by one straight kick. We'll be back with the second quarter action shortly.
Mazda BT50, built so you can do ute. Wilderness fans, you do ute. Grand plans, you do ute. Mazda BT50, you do ute.
It is a special, special thing, and that's what we're here for.
Please, well, thank you for your 6 years as captain. That doesn't happen very often.
Giles is probably my best mate at the club.
Luke, he can talk underwater at times.
It's greater than breaking records.
Great moment in history.
It's writing your own story.
It's greater than blazing a trail.
It's greater than being what you can see.
It's being bold together.
It's greater than the setbacks.
It's the comebacks.
It's greater than just the father-sons.
It's the father-daughters too.
It's greater than kicking a bag.
Larky! Goal number 6 for Nick.
It's kicking the sealer.
The king of marble!
It's greater than just a seat at the game.
It's about being part of something bigger.
It's greater than coming home. It's about the next piece of silverware.
The spirited traveller treasures every step of the journey. With bags packed, they unlock their appetite for adventure. Sail from Spirit of Tasmania Quay, Geelong, the new key to Tassie. Be a spirited traveller.
Mazda BT50, built so you can do what you need to, and so you can do ute. You with all the work demands. You do ute. Wilderness fans. You do ute. Grand plans. You do ute. Pause for hands? Even you do ute. Wherever your inner ute leads, your BT50 will take you there and back again. Mazda BT50. You do ute.
Quarter time at Arden Street, North Melbourne's first Intraclub for 2023. The blue team leading 2-3-15, yellow 1-3-9. Griffin Logue, the standout, down back for yellow in the opening term. Riley, and we're just getting word from the North Melbourne Brains Trust that he's now going to swap sides with Aidan Bonner. So Aidan Bonner will jump into the yellow rather, and Griffin Logue will switch into the blue. There's going to be a bit of that today as they just mix and match and give players opportunities for different combinations, and obviously for Griffin, being new to the club, chance to just get a little bit of chemistry playing with different players in the group.
Yeah, he'll get a quarter to gel with his likely round one teammates now, so with Luke McDonald and guys like that, Ben Mackay down back. So be a good opportunity to see him with those guys in this second quarter. Of course, if you're only just tuning in, we're only expecting Griffin Logue to play a half in this game as he recovers from a finger injury that he sustained a couple of weeks ago. So this will likely be his last quarter of action, but it's been really impressive signs from a number of players throughout that opening term. And one thing that struck me was just how dynamic and mobile the bigs are for North Melbourne. I mean, we've seen the likes of Nick Larkey and Tristan Jerry already get the scoreboard. Hamish Free, their mature age recruit from the rookie draft last year as well.
Goldstein and Coleman Jones. They've got some depth there now.
They do. And also their key position talls. I think a lot of key position talls you sort of pigeonhole into one position. And I'm not necessarily saying that guys like Charlie Coleman and Nick Larkey, we're going to see them in the back line this year, but they're athletic, they're mobile, they've got a bit to their game. They're not just straight up and down footballers who can only take contested marks or can only mark on the lead. They can do a few different things. And when you add the ruckman into the mix and they've been able to go forward and hit the scoreboard in that first quarter, it provides some real excitement for the North faithful in the sense that they've got a few players that can play those roles and can be interchangeable in those roles.
Harry Sheasel starting across half back in that opening term. Interesting to see if he switches around and plays different roles throughout the day. Paul Curtis, another that I know caught your eye in the opening term inside 50 for the blue team.
Yeah, really like what Paul Curtis was able to do. Had a couple of shots on goal. Probably should have hit the scoreboard from that one where he missed from the top of the goal square, but it was really nice rove of the pack as well. And there's a number of really exciting players as well who aren't on the field, Jason, if we want to run through them at the moment. But Jack Marnie's got a shoulder injury, which is why he's not playing at the moment. Aidan Corr and Curtis Taylor were part of a group that were doing some laps pre-match, so they're getting some conditioning in.
They've both got calf issues.
Yeah, a couple of calf injuries there. George Wardlaw, we know he's had some soft tissue injuries throughout his junior career and particularly last year in his draft year, but he's just in a really solid conditioning block at the moment. Darcy Tucker's another really interesting one, another one they brought over from Fremantle like Griffin Logue, but he obviously sustained that knee injury just after Christmas and probably touch and go to play round one at the moment. Hasn't had too much pre-season under his belt. So
yeah, they're saying he's got 2 weeks ahead of him of high load work, and then the idea may be playing the match practice in 3 weeks' time so he can get some under his belt. But you're right, he might have to come in through the VFL for a week or two.
Yeah, just the fact that he hasn't got the touch around his teammates will probably be the thing that goes against him leading into that round one clash that North Melbourne has. But he's another really valuable player for them. He'll probably play some wing footy for them this year. Because
the good thing is, really, aside from Braden George, who they drafted with an ACL, so they know he wasn't going to be playing this year, aside from that, all the other guys that are out at the moment are in the mix to be playing round one, and if not round one, then certainly the early round. So no sort of major injuries that are wiping out half a season at this point.
Yeah, which is important for them, as we know. I mean, there's a lot that goes into making a successful season, but I don't think you can underestimate just how much luck plays into it with injuries.
The old saying, the most important ability is availability. As we start the second term, it's the blue team leading it by 7 points, 2-4 to 1-3. Sun peeks through here at Arden Street. Temperature rises just a couple of degrees. Watkins. Butler will deliver it inside 50 for the first time in the second term. And that's good body work from Coleman Jones. Just leant on Mackay, knew he had the drop zone covered. And he'll take a shot from 10 metres out, more or less directly in front.
That's what you want to see from Coleman Jones. That's natural forward craft, which, as we mentioned before, that'll be his point of difference on guys like Tristan Jerry and Todd Goldstein. So the more he can do of this, the better chance he is to get into that north side throughout the year.
Steps around and snaps it through for the opening goal of the second term. So it's 2 goals apiece. Coleman Jones with 1-1 so far in his morning. Was originally taken by Richmond, pick 20 in 2017 from Sturt in South Australia. Only played the 9 games in that side over the 4 years. As we know, Richmond obviously stacked, and the arrival of someone like Tom Lynch really just restricted Callum Coleman Jones' opportunities. Played some really good VFL football. He played in their premiership in 2019 and then got traded to North Melbourne for Robbie Tarrant and a third-round pick in last year's draft. And, you know, he's in that mix with all those other tools we've just mentioned, trying to consolidate a spot at AFL level.
There was a game that he played at Marvel Stadium, I reckon, against Gold Coast when he was with the Tigers, when he kicked 4 goals and looked really promising in that forward role. And I think that's what might have alerted North to his potential to play in multiple roles for them, and what really got them on the front foot and trying to get his signature in that 2021 trade period.
Harvey went looking for Butler, but it was cut off by Zerha, who then paddles to the advantage of Simpkin, brushes Harvey, gives it to Sherry. Little kick inside 50 is tidy, and here's Curtis again. And one of the real positives, he's got it 45 out directly in front.
I think the thing I like most about Paul Curtis is the fact that he's not the prototype small forward in the sense he doesn't just do his best work on ground level. He can take a mark above his head, he can leap, he can stand on someone's head, and he can get out in the lead as he just did then ahead of Jared Leanett and take a really strong mark. So hopefully he can finish his opportunity.
Extremely athletic. His mum played netball in the Commonwealth Games for Tonga. Ooh, that's a big fly, a huge fly, great grab. Right on the line from Charlie Comben, exactly what Kangas fans want to see.
That's what he can do. It's a fantastic mark.
Steps around and finishes. Charlie Comben, one for North fans to get excited about in 2023. There's a glimpse of what he's capable of.
He got up very high then, Charlie Comben, and had his opponent to contend with, had the post to contend with. Great grab. And that's what you want to see from him. I mean, he's had such an injury-interrupted career so far, but if he can get on the park, that's the sort of stuff he can do, and that's the sort of excitement he can generate for the Kangaroos.
Now he wears number 30, and his name's Charlie, and his surname starts with C, but just his build and the way he moves has got a bit of Charlie Curnow about him.
He does, and we see him go straight into the centre, so he's also got that ability to ruck. He played a bit of footy in the back line throughout the start of his career and throughout his junior career as well, so he's pretty versatile in where he can play his footy, so he's one to watch. I think he can be a mainstay of this North Melbourne side. I think he can be the partner and the foil for Nick Larkey long term.
And be a real difference maker as well. So Goldstein will go against Comben in the ruck. Charlie with the fly early. Goldstein read it nicely. Uniac. Simpkin. Phillips. Back to Jai Simpkin. Great vision. And here's Comben. Followed on. How's his delivery inside 50? It is perfect. And Zerha takes it full-chested on the lead.
Well, that's the secondary aspect to what Charlie Comben can do. We said he went into the ruck and then he was able to instantly get in the front foot, get out the back of the stoppage, at the front of the stoppage, and find Cam Zerha in the lead. So a really impressive 5-minute block from Charlie Comben.
So Zerha, 30 out, 45-degree angle, and he slots it through as well. Good start to the second term for the blue team. Cam Zerha on the board.
Tell you what, we mentioned a quarter time, but you'd like what you'd seen from the key position stocks at North Melbourne. I know Cam Zerha, not necessarily a key position player, but he's one of their bigger bodied forwards. But Jerry, Free, Larkey, Coleman Jones, Comben and Zerha are the goal kickers today. So every single one of these Kangaroos goal kickers, and they're more renowned goal kickers, been able to hit the scoreboard quite frequently this morning. So a really promising 5-minute stretch, and it's been sort of sparked by Charlie Comben, his ability to take that huge mark on the goal line and then go into the ruck and set up that one for Cam Zerha has been a real feature of this game.
And the best teams in the competition all have that diversity of option, abilities to score in different ways. North starting to develop a little bit of that spread. Comben will go in the ruck again against Goldstein. So can Yellow get a little bit of time in possession here? Blue team just starting to get on top. Goldstein does well out of the middle. That'll help. Bounces it inside 50. Awkward one for Sellers. Gets to the back for Logue, who switched into the blue. Lovely pick up. Sheasel came through, flipped it forward. Bergman. Zeeble. His kick taken by Davies Uniac. Sheasel over the top. Here's Simpkin strolling through half back. Pops a handball over the top. Phillips has got some space. Curtis. Sizzling kick towards half forward. Misses Stevenson. Can he get there in time to collect it? He can. Just inside the line. Takes on Leanett. Manages to shake him from 35 out. Umpire said run too far. And joining us, our special guest, it's great to see Liam Shields, former Hawk, now Kangaroo, joins us in commentary for this second term. Liam, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. I've really enjoyed my time down at North Melbourne so far.
Just fix Liam's microphone, get that working. Leanett.
Got me.
To Young. Bonner steps inside, back to Lean-It. He goes wide and finds Butler.
I'm on now, I think.
He's got some audio issues for Liam. He'll be with us in a moment. Simpkin is taken down in a tackle. Might just leave it on the wide shot for a second, boys, if we could get Liam's microphone fixed so we can... Oh, you hearing us?
Yep, you got me?
I can't hear, but apparently the folks at home can, Liam. So great to have you with us. How's the transition across to Arden Street been for you?
Yeah, loving it. You're really refreshed with the new environment, albeit there's a few familiar faces here, but yeah, it's a great young group. The place has got a really good vibe about it at the moment, so I've really enjoyed my first 3 months here.
Simpkin off to Stevenson. Little delivery is cut off by Bonner. Yeah, some familiar faces. There really is a massive Hawthorn influx. Clarko's brought a bunch of assistant coaches, some players, which in a way sort of really helps fast track the culture change and the game plan change as well, doesn't it? Because a lot of people hit the ground already running.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, he's got Brett Ratton, who spent some time at St Kilda as well as the senior coach there, so he was with us at Hawthorn throughout our premiership years, and also Josh Gibson, who spent a bit of time away from footy, so he's brought a few new things as well. So yeah, it's great to have a few Hawthorn people at the club that have been elsewhere and done other things and have brought a few new ideas.
Dan Howell, who's just in that contest, another who's come across from the Hawks is Will Phillips. Kick inside 50. Can Curtis get the arms free? It's punched away from Larkey at ground level. Stevenson went to handball it, but lost the handle on it before he could make contact. Zurha comes in, lays a tackle. Cullen Dawson taken down from behind by Curtis. From a game plan perspective, obviously Clarko's been away, looked around the world, stepped out of footy, come back in. Have you noticed much difference to the game plan, or is it fundamentally the same, just with a few tweaks?
No, there's definitely, as you said, Clarko's been overseas. He spent time with the Golden State Warriors in the basketball with Steve Kerr, and then also Celtic in the Scottish Premier League with Ange Postecoglou. So he's been away. That's one of his great strengths, Clarko, is that he's always evolving. So I mean, there's a few things that are similar, but yeah, he's come with a lot of new ideas and he's very refreshed. So yeah, it's exciting for what's ahead.
Zurha shot at goal, misses left. You've been at a club, Hawthorn, that had to build from the bottom and work their way up. What are the key fundamentals for North Melbourne now to do exactly the same thing over the next 5 years?
Oh, there's a lot that goes into it, and I think part of it is a little bit around the training standards, but there's also a little bit around the buy into our Shimbo culture, but also Clarko's game plan as well. And since I've been here, I've been super impressed with how quickly the players have learnt Clarko's game plan, how quickly they've bought in. And as you can see, we've got a number of guys out here who have put on a lot of size. I've got Powley here in front of me. He's quite skinny and small throughout last year, but if you look at the arms on him now, which he's pretty happy with, nice bit of play from Powley here. Yeah, he's put on 5 or 6 kilos. So, yeah, a lot of these younger guys have really developed into big, strong players for us now. So it's going to be impressive to see what they can do. There's Paul Curtis as well. He's put on a bit of size and nice finish from Bull.
And that was beautiful play from Curtis to Zurha for the finish. Cam Zurha, Bootsy's second of the term. Great to have Liam Shields with us. Riley obviously will always have some questions about the young players he's been tracking for a few years and how they're going.
Before that, I just want to ask about your own situation. I mean, you're obviously out there today. You're in a conditioning block ahead of the season. How are you feeling ahead of the new campaign?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. Feeling really refreshed. It's just a little bit of management for myself today. I think there was 5 or 6 of us that did about 12 to 14k of controlled work this morning, which was quite a solid session. But yeah, I had a little bit of a tight hammy 2 weeks ago, and we're taking a little bit of a cautious approach with a number of guys. But yeah, most guys should be ready in the next couple of weeks to play, so it's exciting that we should have a pretty full list to pick from round 1.
What about your outlook on the season ahead? I mean, you fooled us for a little bit there. We thought you were retired for a couple of months. You're obviously back on an AFL list in 2023. I mean, what went into the thinking to come to North Melbourne and be back on the playing list ahead of this campaign?
Yeah, it just felt right at the time to hang up the boots. I wasn't really sure what was next. There was nothing really set in stone with North Melbourne at the time, so it made sense to retire. And yeah, a lot of it as well, and part of the reason that I wanted to come to North Melbourne is I wanted to get into the recruiting list management team. So the opportunity came there. That's probably why we first started talking with Brady and Clarko. That's from Steve-O.
Fans to Dawson. Larkey, nice dispossess. Powell, the fall-away shot at goal from Comben. And Blues starting to flex their muscle in the second term.
Yeah, so I'll do a little bit of work experience with those guys as well. So that was part of the reason I wanted to come. And my body was still feeling great when I finished up. So Clarko said, "Do you reckon you've got a little bit of footy left in you?" And at the time I did feel like I had a little bit of footy left in me, so I had to play a little bit of catch up because I did retire for a couple of months and enjoyed myself. But
how'd you enjoy the couple of months of retirement?
Yeah, it was
obviously
good.
Not as much as you thought.
No, exactly. It was good while it lasted. But yeah, loving being out there on the track with the boys, and I think that was another part of it. I was able to drive a few of the things that I think we could really improve and help Clarko implement his game plan as being out on the field with the players.
Have you had discussions around when you are available, where you sit in the pecking order in terms of, they said to you, look, if we've got kids and we've got you, we're probably going to use you in the VFL more to provide leadership and someone else to get a game. If there's been any of those sort of discussions?
Yeah, to be honest, there hasn't been. That'll probably come in the next couple of weeks, but to be honest, I'm a realist. I know where I sit. I know where the footy club sits. They've got to get games into a few of these young players, so I'm happy to play whatever role that may be, whether it be down at the VFL side as a sub. A few games in the seniors would be nice, but I'm happy to play whatever role is best for the North Melbourne Footy Club.
Sellers gets crunched there. Good strong tackle from Sheasel on Watkins.
Can you tell us a little bit about Harry Sheasel? Obviously, we know the impact he made as a junior, playing in the forward line and through the midfield a little bit, but starting across half-back today. What's taken your eye about him over the summer?
Yeah, he's fitted in seamlessly, Harry. I think the thing, I know I did an interview when I first got here, and I compared him to Luke Bruce, which I still think, from what I've seen, that he's very similar to Luke Bruce, the way he plays.
That's common.
He's really enjoyed a bit of time down at half-back. I've played a little bit of match sim over the last couple of weeks, and he's probably spent half his time at half-back, and he showed some really nice things. We all know he's got great skills and great composure with the ball, so he's got all the attributes to make a great, here he goes, great half-back as well.
Comben to Sheasel. It's cut off by Bonner. Go short. Find Lazaro. There's some real young talent here, isn't there? Guys that are playing now in their second, third, fourth year in the system, and it's the job of the coaching staff and the senior players now to fast-track that development.
That's exactly right. They've got a lot of top-end talent. They've had access to that over the last couple of years, and it is exciting, the list at the moment. As I mentioned before, Powley's in his second year, Charlie Comben in his second year. A lot of these guys are aged between 18 and 22, so once they get to that, games where they've played between 50 and 100 games, we'll start seeing their best footy, but it's up to the coaches and us senior players around the group to educate them and fast-track their development as quick as possible.
Zeebel's long kick marked by Larkey, who goes to the top of the square. Out comes Ford. Couldn't take the grab, but he's got plenty of options at ground level. Scott wanted to get onto his right boot. Back to Ford. Ford feeds it back to Powell. Good, ferocious tackling work here from Yellow. Ford keeps it alive. Cunnington wants to put a step on. Lowson will have none of it. Zerha under pressure from Lowson. Forced the kick wide. Great defensive work there from Sam Lowson. One of 11 VFL players in this side today in Yellow. And we talk about the importance of the VFL program as we have, and you coming through Hawthorn and Box Hill in the alignment, and just how important it is to have a healthy VFL program. And there's some talent and some experience at VFL level here to help push up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been one of our major focuses as a footy club is to really drive that one club aspect and everyone buying into that. So we've been very fortunate to probably have at least 10 guys from the VFL come down and train with us Tuesday, Thursday throughout the week, which really helps with our match sim, but it also helps their development, which is a flow-on effect to the VFL side as well. So Tom Lynch has run a great program down there, and they've got some talent on their list as well down at VFL level.
Sheasel taken down by Harvey. Ball inside 50. Bergman. He's wrapped up by Sellers. Powell off to Perez. Searching kick wide finds Kane Turner. He takes it on the chest.
You obviously had some great leaders throughout your time in footy, and particularly at Hawthorn, but coming into this football program now, they're in a transitional period in terms of the leadership aspects. What have you seen from Jai Simpkin and Luke McDonald, the two new co-captains in the football club?
Yeah, they're both fantastic leaders. They're different in a lot of ways, which I think really complements having both those guys there. They can really complement each other, and also Zeebs has got the ball here. He's been a fantastic leader for a long period of time, and he's a great mentor for those two guys, Cunners as well. So there's a good mix at the moment with the leadership group. There's a few senior guys that have been around for a while to help mentor these younger leaders coming through. So, really excited for what the leadership group in a whole can offer us this season.
Nice intercept mark in the middle by Lawson, but his kick goes inside 50, and Zeeble takes the grab in front of Sellers. Swings it wide to Griffin Logue, who's been really impressive. Started in the yellow, moved to blue for the second term. We'll just play the half today. Now Ben Mackay. Spears a kick, was looking for Cunnington, missed the target. This is Cal Dawson, he's wrapped up, got the hands free, went looking for Butler. He's, in fact, Lazaro who was looking for. Powell, Bergman, Mackay, tumbles a kick. Bonner coming out to meet it in the other direction was Comben, who slaps it out. Bonner, but only as far as Powell. Phillips, Davies Uniacke will deliver it inside 50. Larkey's got the sit. Had best position there over Lockie Young, and he'll go back and shoot from directly in front.
He handed it off.
To 40, and 40 got a
40 kicks a goal
there.
So there's certainly some tools, and we've seen the spread of goal kickers. Blue have really taken control in this second term. They've opened up a really handy lead. And that diversity of option, Liam, just so important. But we've spoken and raved about their range of key positions at both ends now. And then they've got that talented mid-sized forward as well. The guys like Zerha and Curtis, guys who can sort of have a bit of X factor about them, and then some crummers. So it sort of feels like they're starting to put some flesh on the bones.
Yeah, absolutely. 40, who just kicked the goal there. He's another one of those guys who's mid-sized but can really take a fly. Shows a bit of X factor as well, so he probably fits in the same bracket as Zerha and those type of guys, Paul Curtis. So yeah, it's really exciting. Steve-O's coming on as well, which is he's an exciting player. Doesn't really miss when he's inside inside 50. So yeah, there's an array of options. So Clarko's got a tough decision picking that forward line.
So Sherry in the ruck against Coleman Jones, gives away a free kick. Powell's been busy, as is Curtis. Spears it inside 50. Over the back, here's Ford off to Stevenson, who misses from
just gave him a wrap
directly in front.
Doesn't miss inside 50 and he lets you down.
Well, you got the commentators.
Yeah, you picked it up. You're a natural.
Can I ask where your interest in list management started from? And a lot of players throughout their career always look for a career post-footy and post-playing, but when did that emerge on your radar as a potential option for you?
Yeah, so I've always had a passion for footy. I wasn't really sure if that was down the coaching road or list management recruiting, and I spent a little bit of time with Mark McKenzie and Mitch Cashin and the team at Hawthorn over the last 18 months and really enjoyed it. I see it as a big puzzle and you're trying to solve, and whether it be what type of play you bring into the club in terms of position or what type of character they are, it's just a big puzzle, and I really got intrigued with how it all works. So that's probably the thing that generated my interest in it, and then as I said, spent a bit of time doing it and really enjoyed it.
Good to see Connor Downey out there, another ex-Hawk.
Yep.
Into the action, there he is, right on cue, gets a quick handball away. He then gets it again. Was due to pretty much play, in fact that was Nick Stevens who got it on that occasion, kicked it forward. Downey just due to play maybe a couple of quarters as well as they manage his load. Bergman, busting through was McDonald, got past Spicer. Spirals a kick, Drury in best position. Curtis came in from the side and pinched it. Drury takes him to ground. That opens the door for Coleman Jones. High kick inside 50. Blue look to have it covered. It's Logue, who just peels off and reads it so well.
You speak to so many players who have just switched clubs and they speak about how fresh and how new it is at their new club, but we've mentioned so many times the Hawthorn connection that is here now. I mean, how much of what the Kangaroos are doing is derived, can you see, from what Clarko did so well at Hawthorn throughout his time there?
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit. He's built, as we spoke about, he's brought a few people across. Ray McLean's another one from leading teams who really drove our culture at Hawthorn through that successful era. So a lot of the things that he does around building a culture, he has brought into the North Melbourne Footy Club, which is exciting to see. So, Clarko has brought a few things across, but also, as I spoke about at the start, he's been overseas and spent a bit of time away from the game, so he's come back refreshed with a lot of new ideas. So he's got a good balance of, what few things that we used to do, but also a few fresh ideas.
Speak about the connection piece and the closeness of the group. Ben Cunnington obviously went through testicular cancer last year, came back, played the last couple of games of the season. He goes back here and slots a goal.
Yeah, he's a real leader amongst the group, Cunners. Spiritual leader. All the guys love him. Fantastic person, and obviously spoke about his battle that he went through last year. So it's so exciting to see him back on the field. There was a couple of guys like Will Phillips is another one who missed a lot of footy last year. He's a high draft pick 3, I think. So he's had a real real good pre-season where he's been able to have a full run at it. He was eased into a little bit early, but he's really hitting his straps at the right time now, so it's exciting to get a few of these guys back.
When you talk about making a group closer and building those bonds and those genuine care for each other, what Ben went through last year was organic and authentic in terms of something that the group really rallied around. And I know that he's become an ambassador for the Cancer Council, and they had the longest day, golf day event. The players all decided off their own bat to pitch in, and they donated $10,000. And it's something that it's really special. It's not something you can manufacture, things like that, but gee, it can be important for a group, can't it? It's just that genuine care.
Absolutely, it's real, that type of stuff. And the guy spoke to Ben, and he's just so grateful to be able to, come to training every day to, be out there playing today, because it was taken away from him and he wasn't sure if he was ever going to be able to play again. So, it's genuine, that care and love for each other when you're inside a footy club, and, the players really love Ben and get behind him and drive that stuff.
Davies Uniacke off to Mackay. Bounce nicely collected by Curtis. Off to Ford, who sees Larkey tracking back towards goal. Just a little too much on it. Couldn't control it. So plenty for North Melbourne fans to be positive about. 2022 season saw this young side start to get some games under their belt and pay their dues, and now under Alistair Clarkson they're poised for a promising 23, and the best way to be part of the journey, sign on as a member. It comes with a host of great benefits. Head to membership.nmfc.com.au and sign up today for 2023. There's a host of different membership packages for whether or not you intend to go to games or maybe just watch from a distance or from the couch. And a big shout out to former North Melbourne great Corey McKernan, who's tuning in from Austin, Texas right now, watching the live stream. Now that is dedication.
That is.
Ford, Turner, Zerha, Bonner. Now Lean it, trying to get away from Comben. Creates a bit of space, and high kick towards Coleman Jones, who takes the grab. And there is a passionate cohort of ex-players at North Melbourne, and they feel the hurt as much as anyone, Riley, when teams are down and they get frustrated and they want their team to get back, and Corey's certainly one of those.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple of years for the football club, but I think you see games like this and you see encounters like this and some glimpses from guys like Harry Sheasel there with a great pick up off the ground. You think this is the future of the footy club. This is why you invest so much time in it, because they're going to be the guys that are leading the club in the next 5 to 10 years as they do get that success, which is so desperately wanted around these parts.
Perez to the wing, tidied up by Greenwood. His Butler to Drury. Drury towards half forward. Coming out to meet it hard there was Sellers. Good presentation. Perez off to Eddie Ford.
Been impressed with Eddie Ford in the last 10 minutes. He's had a really good patch.
Stevenson had to wait for the bounce. Noblet had him, and then he gave it off to Scott, who burst through the middle. Kicks to half forward. Sherry's right on 50s. He got an option inside 50. Goes towards Curtis. Again, just a little too much on the kick, and it's smacked away by Jared Leanett. So it has been a impressive second term from Blue. They've added 6 goals to 1, really flexed their muscle. Got into their work in this second quarter. Sherry at the front, runs into Greenwood, and now Goldstein dispossesses him. Dancing feet of Todd Goldstein. Bonner sinks the boot into it. Logue nudged out of it by Sellers, who couldn't complete the grab. Howe gains a little bit of territory only as far as McDonald. They're set up well behind the ball. His handball missed Bergman, but it'll be tidied up by Ford. He delivers towards the pocket. Stevenson at the back. Spoil comes to the front. Crashing through was Zerha. Coming the other way was Howe. Lazaro. Howe. Noblet goes short. Free couldn't take the grab. It is half time, and we thank Liam Shields so much for joining us in this second term. Liam, wonderful to still have you around, in and around footy, and great to hear that even post-playing days you're going to stick around and get involved in list management. Thanks very much for joining us, and best of luck for the road ahead.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Liam Shields joining us. Let him get downstairs and join the team. It is half time. The Blue team really dominating that second term. Emma Carney to join us shortly as the guests keep on coming. I'll give you some insight behind the scenes here at North Melbourne. It's half time in their first Intraclub for 2023. And Riley, we started to see some of the more senior, experienced, mature bodies start to get on top in that second quarter.
Yeah, the forward line looked really good. It was sparked by that 5-minute burst from Charlie Comben where he took a really strong contested mark, a big specky on the goal line, went back and kicked the goal. Then went into stoppage and immediately won the ball forward and got set up Cam Zurhaar for his second. So both Comben and Zurhaar have 2 each at half-time. Really like what we've seen from them. And some really promising signs from Harry Sheasel across half-back late in that second half as well. So a couple of really clean pickups and some nice kicks inside 50 as well.
A lot more free-flowing footy through the middle of the ground. I mean, it is an intra-club, so we understand that, you know, teams' defensive setups aren't quite as intense as they will be once the real stuff starts. But it just goes to show if the North Melbourne defence can get a little bit of time and space at half-back, they're starting to work on that fluent ball movement straight through the middle of the ground.
Yeah, they are. And some really promising signs from some of the younger midfielders as well, as we've seen throughout that first half. So the likes of Tom Powell, who Liam Shields said just looks bigger and looks stronger, and Will Phillips has had some really exciting moments as well. So a couple of good signs for the North Melbourne faithful.
We're going to take a quick break. Be back with Emma Carney on the other side of the break. You're watching the North Melbourne Intraclub for 2023.
Mazda BT50, built so you can do ute. Wilderness fans, you do ute. Grand plans, you do ute. Mazda BT50, you do ute.
It is a special, special thing, and that's what we're here for.
Steve, thank you for your 6 years as captain. That doesn't happen very often.
Giles is probably my best mate at the club.
Luke, you can talk underwater at times.
It's greater than breaking records.
Great moment in history.
It's writing your own story.
It's greater than blazing a trail.
It's greater than being what you can see.
It's being bold together.
It's greater than the setbacks.
It's the comebacks.
It's greater than just the father-sons.
It's the father-daughters too.
It's greater than kicking a bag.
Lucky! Goal number 6 for Nick.
It's kicking the sealer.
Zurhaar! The king of marble!
It's greater than just a seat at the game.
It's about being part of something bigger.
It's greater than coming home. It's about the next piece of silverware.
The spirited traveller treasures every step of the journey. With bags packed, they unlock their appetite for adventure. Sail from Spirit of Tasmania Key, Geelong, the new key to Tassie. Be a spirited traveller.
Mazda BT50, built so you can do what you need to, and so you can do ute. You with all the work demands. You do ute. Wilderness fans, you do ute. Grand plans, you do ute. Pause for hands? Even you do ute. Wherever your inner ute leads, your BT50 will take you there and back again. Mazda BT50, you do ute.
Cheers. Thanks very much, boys.
Emma Carney joining us at half-time as we start the third term. Blue leading it by 39 points. I can see that Levi Greenwood is one that has switched jumpers. He's now into the blue for this second half action as the coaches, Riley, just start to experiment with a few different combinations and obviously just want to tweak the game a little bit and maybe make it a little bit more competitive in certain areas of the ground.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think we're about to be thoroughly confused. Charlie Lazaro, another one that swapped sides. Hugh Greenwood, as you mentioned there, but Ben Mackay taking that mark on Nick Larkin. I think we're about to be confused because there's a few players that are playing in the opposite team for the first half. So
good thing we don't ever call by number. Kick goes out wide. Bouncing football. Little flip over the top there from Ford, taken by Bailey Scott. Links up with Bergman, back to Scott, inside to Lazaro, and Scott again involved for a third time. High kick inside 50, Sheasel's gone forward, off the hands of Larkey. Greenwood couldn't control it, stripped of it by Leanett. Goes to ground, well done Greenwood, extracts it. Lazaro pumps it forward, Spicer immediately taken down, good strong tackle. It's Jack Watkins, and it'll be rewarded, the VFL skipper. Good tackle from Jack.
So I think there might be a few players as well that might have been pulled at half-time. We mentioned throughout the first half that Griffin Logan only be playing a half. He spent the entire half-time interval running laps around the oval just to get some loads into his legs. So keep an eye on that in terms of who is and isn't playing, as Cal Coleman-Jones takes a very impressive mark.
So he swapped sides as well as Cal. He'll go back from about 25 metres out, slight angle. It's been one of the highlights of the day so far, is the performance of the bigs on both sides. They've all managed to get their hands on the football and have an impact.
Yeah, and they've all looked really promising as Coleman-Jones wheels around and just kicks off target. But it's that athleticism that we've mentioned. Charlie Comben took a big specky in that second quarter. Cal Coleman-Jones has got it. Nick Larkey's got it. So when they're up and firing, I think you're sort of at the age of someone like Charlie Comben, who's going to turn 22 at some stage this year. That's the age where you want him to take that next step. You want him to put that extra bit of upper body strength on and be able to ragdoll defenders, but also keep the athleticism that's made them such good junior prospects. And Cal Coleman-Jones taking that out of the air, you get a sense of what he can do.
Larkey, Lazaro has it pinched nicely by Sheasel with the outside of the boot, and that is class. Harry Sheasel kicks a beauty.
Well, I tell you what, he played half-back the entirety of the first half. He's gone to half-forward to start the second half, and that's what he can do as a forward. He's capable of just breaking the game open. We saw Liam Shields mentioned in the second quarter that he reminds him a bit of Luke Bruce, and that had a lot of Luke Bruce about it, just roving the pack, finding where the footy was going to drop, kicking an unbelievable goal.
Lovely banana from about 35 out on the run. So, great start for Sheasel. If you would have a couple of snapshots of the game now, you've got Charlie Comben taking the specky and then Harry Sheasel kicking that goal, and they're probably, well, certainly up there as the two players that North Melbourne fans are probably most looking forward to seeing what they can deliver in 2023, along with, say, George Wardlaw.
Yeah, definitely. And Sheasel, I mean, that versatility is such an exciting tool for Alistair Clarkson to have at his disposal going into the year. I mean, if you're an opposition coach and you don't know whether he's going to line up across half-back or across half-forward, it makes it hard to plan for, and it's something that's going to make him a dangerous weapon for North Melbourne this season.
Sherry out of the middle, delivers it inside 50. Mark taken here by Hamish Free. One thing about that versatility for Sheasel, if he is playing forward, for example, and struggling to get his hands on the football, he can throw him back behind the footy to get him involved, send him into a couple of stoppages. Just a great way for a youngster to be able to just find different ways to get involved in games, although with the ability that he's got, getting involved is probably not going to be an issue for him.
Well, it's just such a thing for first-year players that they've got that. When you have that versatility, it means you don't have to. The onus of responsibility isn't on you to perform every single week. And we've seen a couple of instances. I remember even last year when Jason Horne-Francis was here at North Melbourne last season, there was a couple of queries as to when he was going through the midfield, whether or not he's performing to the level of someone like Nick Dacos, and that comparison lasted throughout the entirety of the season. But the great thing that Nick Dacos had on his side was the ability to play multiple positions, and Harry Sheasel's ability to do that and the potential to do that, and what he's shown throughout the first 2 and a bit quarters of this game is going to be a really exciting tool for Alistair Clarkson to have at his disposal.
Young receives from Scott, gives it to McDonald, puts him under some pressure there for support. Young, can he slip away? He's being hemmed in, gets it to Bonner, just eludes the tackler, Perez. Well done, Tom Powell. Takes it to the line, good pressure there from Yellow. So Griffin Logue off at half-time after a very impressive first half. Did a bit of cool-down work, ran some laps. He'll go and sit down. Have the rest of the day off. Coming back from a dislocated finger, so missed a couple of weeks of about 8 days of training. So they're just managing his load. Cunnington taken down. Strong work from Will Phillips.
That's exciting.
One of the real improvers over the summer. We spoke to the coaches yesterday, who's really caught the eye. He was at the top of the list. This is Jack Zeeble. He's gone back into a defensive role this year. He's gone forward, back into the midfield throughout his career. We speak of versatility. He's had an impact in all zones across the journey. It's Nick Stevens, the former Geelong player, takes it to the line. The 20-year-old, originally from East Point in Ballarat, Geelong Grammar. Signed by the Cats at the end of 2020. A couple of seasons in the VFL. Now gets an opportunity to stay in the system in the VFL here at North. Curtis. Wrapped up.
Footy clubs are funny places, aren't they? Because from the outside, the logic of changing Todd Goldstein and Tristan Jerry, they're changing teams at half-time.
Still going against each other.
They're still playing against the exact same opponent. They're just on different sides.
And I thought, well, maybe they've changed the midfield mix, but then Cunnington changed jumpers as well. So, but yeah, just trying a few different things. A couple of different combinations in the midfield. Stevenson there, wrapped up in a tackle. So Goldstein and Sherry go at it again. Sherry, lovely tap down to Howe. Couldn't get the arms free. Eventually did. Ditto Sherry. Didn't go the required distance, and Perez does some solid work. Umpire said it's too high. Free kick to Turner, who's then dealt with late.
I don't think Flynn Perez was happy that the initial free kick had been paid and took out some of the frustrations immediately after Kane Turner kicked that ball.
So it'll be a downfield free kick. High ball inside 50. Spoil over the top from Bonner. Drury to Zeeble. He's stripped of the football. Still there for Blue. Scott's handball slapped away. Taken by Lazaro. Works it with Young. Gets it back. Now Drury. And they run it out through Sheasel to Scott. Looks inside. Finds Davies Uniacke, who gets it and goes. He's got an overlap runner. It's Curtis, who can go all the way to 50 if he wants. Delivers inside because he sees Larkey in open space, and Nick Larkey can go back and kick his second of the afternoon. Well, it's still the morning. It's the afternoon somewhere, Riley. I wasn't specific.
Yeah, Nick Larkey's looked... I reckon that's when he's at his most dangerous, when he's got his back to running to goal and the team's in transition. I think that's when he's most dangerous. In a similar role to sort of how Jeremy Cameron's become such a great footballer, when he gets on his bike and he can turn opposition defenders around going forward. So normally a dead eye in front of goal, and he's got his second there. But they've looked impressive, the forward group from North Melbourne. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway through 2.5 quarters at the moment, just how mobile and versatile and athletic that forward group looks.
I think that and the launch off half-back, the amount of free-flowing, and we saw it again there, link-up play, running play through the middle of the ground. Now, as we mentioned earlier, you take that under advisement of the fact that it isn't a pre-season practice game, so the level of intensity and the defensive work that's going into it to prevent that will obviously be a lot higher when you get to the real stuff in a few weeks' time, but they've taken what they've been given this afternoon.
Yeah, they have. When you talk about versatility, Harry Sheasel spent the whole first half playing as a half-back. He spent the start of the second half playing as a half-forward, where he kicked a beautiful goal. And have a look at that. He's gone into the midfield now. He's starting this centre bounce. Can play across all three lines, Harry Sheasel. That's why he was a top 3 pick in last year's draft. He was one of the most talented players in that draft pool, and it's going to give North Melbourne fans plenty to be excited about this year.
Goldstein, little flip, looking for Greenwood. Davies Uniacke. Geez, they've got some combinations in the middle to throw around now, don't they? And here comes Sheasel. Delivers it inside 50. Leanett comes steaming out. Was nudged in the back by Curtis. Umpire spotted it. Free kick, Jared Leanett.
I know it won't count because of the free kick against Cal Coleman-Jones, but that's another indication just of what Paul Curtis can do. I mean, how many small forwards across the competition can mark in a pack and have the audacity to go even try and mark in a pack? So he's got that potential to win the ball on ground level, but he's got the athleticism to get up and take a mark above his head as well, which is why I think he's such a promising player for the football club.
Especially when you put him alongside the likes of Eddie Ford and Cam Zurhaar and other players with X Factor. It's going to be hard to cover all of them. Once they get that combination right. Goldstein's been good today. Finds his boot. Howe, wrapped up by Sheasel. Got the hands free. Umpire said no, it was a throw. It was a throw from the attempted handball over the top to Sellers. Will be brought back.
Sheasel again, though, with the tackle. I mean,
on Dan Howe, who is strong in the body.
You run the risk of getting too excited from games like this, where it is pretty meaningless at the end of the day. It's just an intra-club hit out. But I tell you what, Harry Sheasel's given you plenty to be excited about through 2.5 quarters.
Yeah, you're looking for glimpses, aren't you, as a fan or as a coach? Here's Perez. Goes long to Coleman-Jones. Good strong grab from him. Turns and goes quickly. Larkey will be the target in the middle of this pack, and he takes a strong grab. And/or free kick. As Watkins arrived late.
He's playing at a good opponent Nick Larkey, is on Ben Mackay, who's one of the best intercept defenders in the competition. So his work cut out for him. He's going back for his third goal in the afternoon. He's not playing on any slouch. He's playing on one of the best in his position. So really impressive showing this from Nick Larkey.
80 goals in the last 2 seasons, as you mentioned, in sides that have struggled a bit. He gets a little bit more support, a little bit better supply. There's no reason why Nick Larkey can't push up into the 60, 70 goals a season sort of category. And he kicks his third this morning, I keep saying it.
I reckon that's one of the most underrated facets of footy as well, is the ability to go back and hit the scoreboard. I mean, how many key forwards in the competition take a mark 30 metres out directly in front? You just think, I'm not totally convinced he's going to go back and actually kick this.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
I think the fact that Nick Larkey's got that ability to mark on the lead, he's got that ability to mark in packs, but then when he does mark anywhere within 30, 40 metres of goal, you've got the confidence in him to go back and actually kick it. I mean, that's such an underrated facet of the game, but it's going to give him plenty more opportunities than other key forwards in the competition who aren't as reliable in front of goal, and that should give North Melbourne fans plenty of hope for the future.
That's right. He's only had 113 shots at goal in the last 2 seasons, but he's kicked 80 goals, 33. And that's the difference between having a 25 or a 20 goal season and a 40 goal season. Blue get it out of the middle again. Davies Uniacke delivers, looking for Larkey, and the chop of the arms. Some hard work for the yellow defenders right now. This delivery is relentless as Larkey goes towards the pocket and Zurhaar's being held.
That's a great lead from Cam Zurhaar. Doubled back, fooled his opponent, got out in the lead, won the free kick. That's really good forward craft. I mean, we've seen him have stints through the midfield today, but I think predominantly he's still probably going to be that 70-30 forward mix for him this year. So,
well, especially if you've got the likes of Sheasel, etc., who can rotate around as well. All of a sudden you're going to be doing some pretty radical rotations that are going to be hard for opposition coaches to cover. So Zurhaar, the hole came from Kel Dawson. He slots it from the angle as well. Kicks his third of the morning.
Corrected yourself there, Jace.
Well, only took about 5 goes. So 3 to Larkey, 3 to Zurhaar. Good crowd in here at Arden Street, part of the club's family day. Lots happening after this game concludes. So if you are in the area, come on down to Arden Street. The team will be presented with their jumpers. There'll be fan interaction. There'll be kick-to-kick with the fans on the ground. And speaking to the team behind the scenes yesterday, that fan connection, something that they really want to emphasise in 2023. School holidays after training, they've brought kids onto the ground for kick-to-kick. They're going to happen again today. They want to throw the doors open here at Arden Street as much as possible and really embrace their fan base who have been through a lot, and they've been loyal and hardcore, and they deserve that love and attention from the playing group.
It's made it a bit too obvious then, that push in the back from Paul Curtis. I mean, you could see what he was trying to do, and you could see the subtle way that he was trying to do it, but that one was pretty obvious, unfortunately, for him.
So this is Callum Dawson, really promising youngster, was picked up at the mid-season draft last year. Seen him play a lot of footy for Williamstown in the VFL. He's a promising young third tall defender, really.
Yeah, I think North Melbourne really liked his ability to rebound out of the back line last year, which is why they took him.
Yeah, he can play tall and small. He can play that sort of taller version, or he can intercept, or he can actually just sort of get off and create.
But having the ability to do both, having the ability to intercept mark and to play on an opponent, then also rebound and break the lines off half-back, so crucial these days. So, yeah, one of the most promising players in last year's mid-season draft. He was picked 2 in the end behind Jai Cully, who went to West Coast, and gave a couple of exciting little glimpses of his potential in the back half of the year.
Yeah, he had a real late growth spurt. He was quite a skinny kid, but between the ages of 17 and 19, he put on some size. So it also helps with the versatility, because he obviously played a role as a smaller player as a junior, and now he's got a bigger body, so he can do both. Nice pick up from Bergman under pressure to Drury. He uses Luke McDonald. Goldstein, tapped away by Stevens. Nice gather from Spicer, but ran straight into Lawson. Whistle goes off the football. Non-officiating umpire spotted the free kick for the drop, and it's coming back to Sam Lawson, who looks super fit. Looks in great nick. Downing, inside 50, big pack of players. It'll spill to the front. Drury on the bottom of that pack.
Drury's another interesting one. Obviously the first pick in last year's rookie draft to North Melbourne, and has impressed throughout the summer. He's sort of been converted into that small kicking user across half-back and has done a really good role for them throughout pre-season. There was a bit of talk that he might be a round one bolter. I think he's probably just out of the equations at the moment. I think he's probably fallen a little bit back in the pecking order, but he will be one to watch throughout the year because I do expect him to play some senior footy at some stage this year. They really like his creativity and his composure across half-back, so he's one that I've got eyes on. He's playing in the blue side, the stronger blue side in the second half, so a really big opportunity for him to sort of stamp his name ahead of round one.
Little redhead, number 41 from Vermont and Caulfield Grammar, and then the Oakley under-18s. They're big on his leadership. Sort of similar in the sense to Jack Higgins in that he was sort of a natural midfielder but had to work on other aspects of his game like forward craft to get opportunities at this level, because as a pure mid he's probably a little undersized at AFL level as Lawson goes inside 50. So McDonald tidies it up. 2-on-1 here. Well done Spicer to force a contest. Got it to the deck for Davies Uniacke, who gives and goes with Greenwood, then gives it to Sheasel. Swivels the hips, keeps it moving. Perez takes some distance straight up the middle. Larkey in good position. Will get over the back. Zerha versus Leonard. Leonard did well. Stevenson looks to swoop on it. Here comes Cal Dawson. Gives it off to Powell. He turns and goes. Sizzles a kick up the middle. It was a beautiful kick to Lawson. He'll look inside 50. Stevens has got the sit. Spills to the front. Was well played by McDonald. Didn't give away a free kick, but managed to get it to ground. And in the end, it'll be a free kick to Lockie Young, and the blue will escape again.
So Ben Mackay just limping off the field behind play. Got absolutely crunched in that last contest. I'm not sure if it's anything serious. He's running off, or limping off on his own accord, but just got absolutely cleaned up in that last contest. It's a bit sore and sorry.
Drury to Greenwood and now to Charlie Lazaro. He chips back to Blake Drury. And I mentioned his ability to add extra strings to the bow. Same as for example, a Jack Higgins type. Riley can actually hold plays in really good stead, can't it? I mean, you get that feedback from recruiters in, when you're 17 and 18 saying, hey, listen, we know you're a really talented midfielder, but to go to that next level, you're going to need to do some other things. And then obviously your NAB league coaches, etc., work with you on that to try and expand your game a little more.
Yeah. I think the obvious comp from an AFL perspective for him is probably Caleb Daniel. He's 178 centimetres, Drury, so he's a bit taller than Caleb Daniel, but still pretty undersized, pretty diminutive in his stature, but he's creative with the ball, he's composed with the ball, and he's playing across half-back. So he'll look at someone like Caleb Daniel at the Western Bulldogs, who's carved such an incredible niche for himself across half-back as that user, and think, this is what I can do at AFL level if I take the right steps.
Ball slapped towards the line and out ahead of Jacob Edwards. So Jacob Edwards, 20 years of age, from Beau Morris. He was undrafted in 2020, and then he was the number one pick in the mid-season draft in 21 as another of these key forward rucks that they've sort of been stockpiling.
Yeah, obviously the number one pick in that mid-season draft when it came back. So he's a really interesting prospect. He's obviously got the ability to play ruck, play forward. A lot of clubs thought if he had have waited and gone to the NAB national draft at the end of that season as an overage player, he would have been a top 20 draft pick, which is why North Melbourne was so keen to get him into their football club with pick one in that mid-season draft. So another interesting prospect to watch.
And it is a bit of a risk for young players in particular that haven't had sort of exposure at AFL or even VFL level, as Jacob hadn't, that you could just keep doing what you're doing and you do end up a high draft pick in the national draft, which gives you a little bit more security. Clubs are much more likely to retain you because they've invested an early draft pick in the national draft. But we've seen quite a few players that have been picked up in the mid-season draft, 4 months later they're out of the system.
Yeah. And you can nominate 6-month contracts or 18-month contracts, but they obviously come with their own risks as well as benefits. So, yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic and a really interesting new tool for clubs to be able to recruit players to their football club.
Shot for goal from Kane Turner. Misses. But it does raise the question about whether or not if you get taken in the mid-season draft, should it have to be an 18-month contract? Part of me sort of thinks it should, because what can a player achieve when they're coming in from, playing state league footy, or in Jacob's case, not even that, into an AFL system? It's going to take them 6 months just to start building their fitness base and understand a game plan. So it's quite a disruption of someone's life and also their local club. Something for the system to look at, that's for sure. Big kick inside 50, a fly from Turner was a great contested grab. Came over the top of Blake Drury with really strong hands. Excellent from Kane Turner.
That's a really strong mark. That's what you want to see from someone like Kane Turner, one of the more experienced players on this North Melbourne list, putting his body on the line, getting up, taking a big contested mark where he's he's needed to for his team, because Blue side had numbers around that contest and could have been out if he didn't take that.
A couple of behinds so far today. Chance to kick his first of the afternoon from 48 metres out. Leans back on it, gives it a ride, but in the process tugs it slightly left.
He's had his chances, Kane Turner, in front of goal. I mean, I know it's only a pre-season Intraclub match, but 3 goals looks better than 3 behinds at this stage of the year when you're trying to press your claims for round 1. So he's kicking himself, he hasn't hit the scoreboard just yet.
McDonald goes long. Zerhar will come over the top of this pack. Cunnington all in one motion as he fell to ground, managed to get it to Downey. High kick coming out to meet, standing underneath it was Perez, as storming through now is Cunnington. Spears it low on the bounce. They've had plenty of football at their end, Yellow. They need to start capitalising. Get some reward for all their effort, but it's taken away on this occasion by Scott to Bergman. And now Simpkin to a one-on-one. Larkey with the size advantage. Well done, Bode Stevens did enough. Won it at the back. Dawson. Howe. Slips away from Larkey. He might have just copped an accidental boot on the way past from Howe as he went to ground in the face. He's all right. He's up and going again. Spills. This is Jacob Hope. Jamie Hope, rather. Kick inside 50 is a good one. Well done by Jamie Hope. He finds Ben Cunnington. Jamie, a 19-year-old from Brighton Grammar, and old Brighton, played in Sandringham's NAB League flag last season as an athletic forward with some spark and some goal sense. Played deep in the NAB League, but another Riley that when you make that adjustment to playing senior footy, probably play a little bit more high half forward in the VFL. Just some changes in roles, aren't there? I mean, you can have that sort of one-out, smallish, deep forward at junior level, but that role sort of doesn't exist, or it's a lot harder to play at senior level.
It is, especially with the NAB League rules, where you've got to have players inside the 50 and the like. So obviously changes when you step up to the senior system. I just want to mention Ben Cunnington for a second, who kicks his second goal there. I don't think you can underestimate just how big a loss he was to North Melbourne last year. Obviously they had their struggles on field and they finished on the bottom of the ladder again, but they were missing their best player, and he is their best player for large portions of last year.
And he is in ripping shape, hasn't missed a beat right across the pre-season. And we've spoken about his perspective and how testicular cancer has changed him and his perspective on certainly his footy career. And to an extent, he probably feels like he's playing with house money from here. He thought at one point his football career might be over. So a chance to really almost get a second chance and enjoy what's left of his career. He's 32 years of age, as we mentioned, in fantastic shape, so still got lots of good footy ahead of him. Sherry.
A couple of dig toe
Yeah, firstly on Phillips, and then the second one was a bit high on Simpkin. And Joe will get the free kick. Yeah, skipper, have one in the mush.
It's not one way to endear yourself to your new captain.
Bites off the short one, just the required distance to Will Phillips, who's been impressive, as we expected. Huge raps on him across the pre-season. Jack Zeeble, that'll be 50.
I'll tell you what, it could have been paid against Tristan Cherry about 10 seconds earlier. I thought if this is an actual AFL match, I reckon that might have been paid. So, wasn't as lucky second time around.
Infringing in the restricted zone, so Jack Zeeble will get a chance to have a shot from about 25 out directly in front. So Jack, it's been an interesting one. Obviously made a name for himself as a combative inside midfielder. Second in the best and fairest in 16, and then had injuries in 17, the collarbone, the ribs, the toe, and then went forward in 18 and finished fifth in the best and fairest, then had some hamstring issues in 20, and then went back to defence in 21 and was third in the best and fairest, and went forward last year in round 5 and kicked 5 against Sydney and sort of stayed there, and then had the facial fracture and the shoulder issue, and now he's back in defence. I mean, his career has been an absolute testament to versatility. He's been everywhere.
It has been. Now, using some of the lessons he got taught last year in the forward line there when he wins a 50-metre penalty across half-back and kicks the goal. So, yeah, he's still a very important player for this North Melbourne Footy Club going forward. I know he's relinquished his captaincy duties and he was such a fantastic captain of this football club for such a long period of time, but I think he's still going to play a big role both from a leadership perspective and from an on-field perspective this year.
And if all goes well for him, he's 17 games behind Michael Ferrito and David Detch to move into the top 10 all-time here at North Melbourne for games played. He has been a fantastic servant of this footy club in year 15 for him at Arden Street. Three-quarter time here in the North Melbourne Intraclub, their first of the season. 3 weeks of practice games against other teams and also intra-clubs. Clubs have got a little bit of flexibility, more so than in the past, Riley, where we sort of had a more structured 3 weeks of AFL sort of official pre-season games. Clubs a little bit more flexibility now to do different things, and we know North Melbourne and the Bulldogs have got a game coming up in a couple of weeks, and the plan at the moment is to basically make that primarily VFL listed players because they're not getting as many opportunities to get game time here because North's list is so healthy right now. There aren't that many opportunities for VFL listed players, so good opportunity in a couple of weeks' time for the VFL listed guys to get out and have a proper hit out.
Yeah, it will be, and the ability for clubs now to schedule their own scratch matches and the grounds they want, the times they want is so important, and North might be playing Richmond here in a couple of weeks as well as that Bulldogs game at Icon Park. So, yeah, it's going to be important for players who want to stake their claim from round one to play well in those games, as well as it is for them to play well in games like today when we've got such a big crowd here at Arden Street, a lot of people watching on, and a lot of die-hard members and fans of the North Melbourne Footy Club wanting to see any glimpses they can of some excitement. So, yeah, it's a really good opportunity for a lot of players, both in the VFL setup to sort of put their name forward for a potential spot in the AFL list going forward, but also for the players on the fringes of North Melbourne's best team to stake their claim for round one and beyond.
3/4 time at Arden Street. Final term action next.
Mazda BT50, built so you can do ute. Wilderness fans, you do ute. Grand plans, you do ute. Mazda BT50, you do ute.
It is a special, special thing, and that's what we're here for.
Please want to thank you for your 6 years as captain. That doesn't happen very often.
Giles is probably my best mate at the club.
Luke, he can talk underwater at times.
It's greater than breaking records.
Great moment in history.
It's writing your own story.
It's greater than blazing a trail.
It's greater than being what you can see.
It's being bold together.
It's greater than the setbacks.
It's the comebacks.
It's greater than just the father-sons.
It's the father-daughters too.
It's greater than kicking a bag.
Larky! Goal number 6 for Nick.
It's kicking the sealer.
So hard! The king of marble!
It's greater than just a seat at the game.
It's about being part of something bigger.
It's greater than coming home. It's about the next piece of silverware.
The spirited traveller treasures every step of the journey. With bags packed, they unlock their appetite for adventure. Sail from Spirit of Tasmania Quay, Geelong, the new key to Tassie. Be a spirited traveller.
Mazda BT50, built so you can do what you need to, and so you can do ute. You with all the work demands, you do ute. Wilderness fans, you do ute. Grand plans, you do ute. Pause for hands? Even you do ute. Wherever your inner ute leads, your BT50 will take you there and back again. Mazda BT50, you do ute.
As we get set for final term action.
I think talking about the biggest takeaways from today, I know he's not playing second half, but I think Griffin Logue's was so good in that first half, and his ability to intercept and his ability to read the play, and just how strong he looked as a key defender. He looked really big, and we're about to speak to North's list boss Brady Rawlings in a second, but Because what they saw from him coming into the system and how impressed they would have been from Griffin in that first half. I know he's not playing in the second half, but he looked really talented.
Brady joins us now. Thanks for joining us. What have you seen in the first 3 quarters that's caught your eye?
Work together with their new teammates has been really good to see, but I think a few of the young guys really stepped up and show what they're capable of, which has been great.
From a tactical perspective, how much do you take out of a game like this? Is it more about individual player performances, or is there a fair degree of emphasis and certainly tape review on things like ball movement and setups?
Yeah, definitely both. We obviously play in a different style with a new coach, but yeah, just the way we move the ball, our offensive principles, but also defensive principles, all coming together, and I'm sure they'll get plenty out of this game to be able to review during next week. But also individuals, there's spots up for grabs, so guys being able to take their opportunities and push their case for round one, as well as how we're playing as a team.
Might have been the great Dennis Pagan that said practice matches are like dancing with your sister, but is it difficult when you are doing tactical things, because obviously the opposition team in this instance knows exactly what you're trying to do as well?
Yeah, that's right. Obviously both teams know how we want to move the ball and how we defend, so but I think when there's so much competition for spots, everyone's trying to impress obviously the coaches to push their case, that the contest has still been really good. Some of the tackling pressure and contested balls been really good today. So yeah, when there's competition for spots, blokes are going to have a crack.
He only played the first half. We were just speaking about him before in Griffin Logue, but when you watch a first half like he had, how much do you sit back and think, yeah, that's why we got him?
Yeah, he was pretty impressive. Obviously, he's had an interrupted pre-season, but to have him out there, he just settles us down back really well from a small amount we've seen. He's really good in the air. He's a real competitor. He probably stopped 4 goals in that first quarter playing for Yellow. But yeah, the more we can get him in playing with the other backs, getting to play together is going to be beneficial.
The other one that has really impressed throughout the first 3 quarters is another one you would know plenty about, and Harry Sheasel. I mean, when you were watching him last year for Sandy and Vic Metro and you thought he could be the bloke that we take first in the draft, did you think he'd be lining up across halfback 6 months later?
No, it's great to see. With Clarko coming in, he needs every player being able to play multiple positions. You saw what Nick Dacos did last year by playing down back. We'd never seen that before at underage, and he had the year he had. So, good players can adapt to different positions, and Harry's certainly going to be one of those players in the future. But yeah, you saw what he's able to do with that shot on goal. We've been saying that for years. That's not a fluke. He kicks them regularly. So, he's an exceptional talent.
Good work there from Powell, another who's going to benefit from a good, consistent pre-season, as is Will Phillips, who delivers there to Jacob Edwards. So much upside on this list, Brady, for a number of reasons. One, the talent that's been brought in, but also the players like a couple we just mentioned there in Powell and Phillips, who have now got a couple of years in the system. They've got their bodies right and maybe ready to take that next step, hopefully, in 2023.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, high-end talents in the draft where we selected them, but getting them in, getting their bodies right, the coaches developing their skill and their ability to play our game plan is really important, and now we're starting to see Powley now has got 30 games under his belt. He's put on heaps of weight this pre-season. He's looking like a real man out there. So you bring in the talent, but then how they get developed by the coaches has been terrific for us to see.
The impact of changing coaches and therefore changing game plans on list management, is it I guess it differs in the individual circumstances, as Ben Cunningham kicks another goal, and we've been singing his praises today. He's been wonderful. But when you do have a change in direction, particularly if it's a profound one in terms of how you want to play, from a list management perspective, can that throw a bit of a curveball in at the last minute because you've been looking at a certain type of player to play a certain type of game plan, or is it just purely, as you said before, you get good players in, if they're talented enough, they can adapt?
Yeah, no, you definitely need to be on the same page as a footy club. And since Clarko's been in, that's certainly been the case. We need to be able to bring players in that are going to play the way he wants to play. And as he said early days, we're not looking for players that can just play AFL, we're looking for players that can play in a premiership. So, but being able to play the roles, you've seen today, Powley's been on ball, then he's been wing, Sheezer's been down back, and then forward. So we certainly need to be bringing in players that can play the style he wants to play.
Darcy Tucker obviously not out here today as he recovers from a knee injury sustained just around Christmas, but for all North Melbourne fans that haven't seen much of him at Fremantle, what can they expect from him when he does make it back out in the park?
Yeah, he got another good session under his belt this morning with Liam and George Wardlaw, so he's getting the Ks into him, but he's played 110 games of footy, so he's able to play multiple positions, which is what we like. He can play wing, he can play on ball. He's played high half forward at Freo, and we've even seen him play down back as well. So he's a real strong body, great runner, uses the ball well, and he's just a ripping person. We identified that we wanted to bring a few more players with that level of professionalism and leadership over the off-season, and bringing in Dan Howe, Darcy, Liam Shields were three of those players we wanted to bring in that got a great tank and they're professional, and they certainly lead from the front.
Goal there to Cooper Harvey. Kane Turner, interesting one. 118 AFL games and then delisted and then brought back on the rookie list. What was the thinking and the process behind that and the expectations for Kane in 23?
Yeah, Kane's a ripping person and a real North Melbourne man. He was in our leadership group last year. He probably was falling out of favour a little bit with selection, which led to obviously a list decision at the end of the year. But when we're talking about bringing players in that are professional and show good leadership, we just thought that it doesn't really make sense to leave Kane out for another year, and that's why we decided to give him another crack at it. He does everything right. He's tough. Boys love him. So, it's terrific having him still on the list, and you can see playing forward today, but he's been able to play down back for us in the last couple of years as well.
Lazzaro's kick cut off there by Stevenson, who's spending a bit of time across half-back in this game. Young couldn't complete the mark. And ball over the top from Powell to lean it. He's come into the VFL system as one of those players to provide leadership and direction. Lovely hands there from Stevenson. The kick goes inside 50, but it'll be cut off by Bailey Scott.
Got one of the biggest free agents in the game at your football club this year in Ben Mackay. Brady, when do you start talks around that, and how do you see that unfolding throughout the year?
Yeah, he's super important for us, obviously. He's certainly one that we want to make sure he has his whole career at North Melbourne. We feel like with Aidan Corr and Griffin Logue, we've got three players down back that could help us get to where we want to get to in future years. So super important for us. I'm in constant dialogue with his management, and I think when your player wants to maybe start the season and then have talks a bit later on, it's obviously that's their prerogative, but the sooner we can get talking, the better from our point of view.
On the wish list, when you sit down with Clarko, as Phillips has run down from behind, well done by Hugh Greenwood, who'll be rewarded with a free kick. When you sit down with the coaching group and say, okay, now we've got our list, we sort of understand what we have for 2023, we can see, where the depth is and where we need to bolster. Very early days, obviously, but what's on the wish list for you when you go and brief your scouts to say, these are the sort of guys we're looking for in 2023?
Yeah, that'll be a bit fluid this year. We've obviously got a lot of guys vying for spots. We've identified a few areas that we think we might need to fill, but having said that, we've got some players on the list that might be able to jump up and take those spots in the first 4 to 6 weeks. So we have identified a few things, but hopefully some of these guys step up and fill some of those spots for us. It'd be very handy for us if that's the case.
Curtis, who's been impressive. Greenwood, umpire says, holding the football.
We've obviously had a very strong draft focus the last few years, dating back to 2020 when you took those 2 first-round picks in Will Phillips and Tom Powell, and another 2 top 10 picks last year in Harry Sheasel and George Wardlaw. I mean, how much of the list management strategy is dictated to by what happens on field, or do you anticipate this year as being the one where you think, right, we've had such a strong draft focus for 3 or 4 years now we can go and target free agents, we can target trades?
Yeah, Riley, it's a really good question. We want to be able to do both over the coming years. We've had a high emphasis on bringing in top-end talent at the draft, and we've certainly stripped the salary cap back too as well. We've got ourselves in a good position to be able to bring in some mature talent in the coming years. So trying to blend that all together with getting the list demographic at the right age and experience for when we bring in those mature players as well is our focus. So having a blend of mature talent and top-end draft talent is what we're aiming to do in the next couple of years.
Classy finish there from Tyler Sellers, a youngster out of Old Scotch. Played senior footy last year, was their best and fairest and forward pocket in the team of the year in the VAFA as a third tall forward. He's joined the VFL list this year. Tom Lynch telling me he's draftable talent.
You must be pretty impressed by what you're seeing from the key position stocks, particularly forward of ball in this Intraclub today. I mean, we were talking before just about guys like Nick Larkey and Charlie Comben, and then you throw Callum Coleman-Jones in there as well, and just their ability to have that athleticism as well as be really strong key position targets.
Yeah, that's probably been one of the biggest takeouts out of today is the performance of our big fellas. I think Tristan Cherry's follow-up in the ruck's been outstanding. Coleman-Jones been able to get his hands on the ball, as with Comben, and we know what Larks can do. So, and even Hamish Free, we haven't seen much of him forward. We've scouted him last year in particular, and he pretty much played the whole year in the ruck without rotating too much. So being able to see him go forward and play his role as well has been pleasing. But yeah, there's competition for spots, and I think all the tall guys up forward and in the ruck have put their hand up today.
Noblet's kick to a congested pack at half-back. Well done, Eddie Ford. Here's Dawson. Shrugs a tackle, off to lean it. He's got a couple of runners forward of the football. The first is Butler. He delivers inside 50. Sellers is the target. It'll come over the back. Here's an opportunity for Cooper Harvey. Can he get there first? Met in the other direction solidly. And Young, the beneficiary, he'll come away. Gives it off to Bergman. Bergman towards the wing. There is Coleman-Jones, the aforementioned. Stevens. Here's Lowson. So the VFL players getting involved. Almost run down by Curtis. Kicks to half forward. Greenwood intercepts off to Drury. Drury goes up the middle. Here's Sheasel. Drury comes cruising past. Receives the handball. Delivers towards the pocket for Cunnington. Good football. Tell us a little bit about Blake Drury, what you saw in him, what you like in him, and where he could end up.
Yeah, we've been watching Blake for 3 years, actually. He's under 16s for Vic Metro. Actually played down back, and what we just saw there with his lower of the eyes and hit the targets really stood out in his 16th year. The last couple of years he's been a bit more forward and midfield, but the thing that stands out with this boy is his attitude. He just wants to make a living out of playing AFL, and you do whatever it takes to get there. So we had him on our draft order going into the night, but given we were picking 3 times pretty early, and then Cooper Harvey late as a father-son, we knew he was probably not going to be in the mix for us at draft time, and we were really pleased that he got through the rookie draft. And we thought if anyone of our top 30 names was still there for rookie, we'd take him with our first pick, and that's the way it fell for Blake. So ripping young man, great attitude, and yeah, his training standards are elite.
Away comes Powell to the wing for Lowson. We've commented a couple of times on just how fit Sam Lowson looks now, getting into North Melbourne's VFL program, previously at Coburg. Butler hoists it high. Big pack of players come crashing to the deck. Mackay receives from Greenwood, then pumps a little handball out to Zeeble. And Zeeble goes to Dan Howe.
Given what he was able to do back half of last year and how he's improved again this summer, how much of a relief and how much excitement was there to get Luke Davies-Uniacke wrapped up in terms of his contract extension in December?
Yeah, obviously we spoke about buckets before and how important it is, and we were rapt that Luke was keen to extend for another couple of years. His second half of the year was outstanding. Really pushed Jai for the BNF in the end, and ended up being a pretty close finish. But we think he's got another level to go to as well. Some of his stoppage work is absolute elite. But we've even been able to play him off half back at times in this pre-season. He looked pretty special down there too. So, yeah, it's been really good that we've got players, even though we've had some disappointing seasons, that they're still keen to extend and see their future being here at North.
Free kick, holding the football. Opportunity for Yellow to peg one back here. This is Jack Watkins, VFL skipper this year, 22-year-old from Mountain South and the Jets in Werribee. Didn't play any games in 2019, had a stress fracture in his foot, but real inside ball, mid-half forward type. Got some AFL traits as well, strong, good tank, can run outside, can play anywhere. Tommy Lynch just keeps pumping these blokes up. I'm sure he's knocking on your door every 5 minutes.
Yeah. He's loving his VFL, Lynch, and he's doing a great job. He's so passionate about his role, and that's what we want to see from our employees here at the club.
One player I want to ask you about, because I know you were very excited about him in his draft year, and he had a great first half in particular today, is Paul Curtis. I mean, he has the potential to be anything with his ability to be such an excitement machine on ground level inside 50, but then we were commenting on just his ability overhead as well. I mean, how many steps forward can he take this year?
Yeah, he's shown some really special traits. We get very excited by him as a recruitment team. But yeah, I don't think I've probably seen too many players going in their second year be able to show the physical strength that Paul's been able to show so quickly. He's strong through his hips, he's strong up top, he fends off, and he can take a mark overhead. So I think all North supporters will be very excited by him, and probably the boy that just had the ball then too, Tom Powell.
He's been great, really impressive.
He's probably been the best one out there, I think, today, performance-wise, and really excited what he can become as well.
He had such a great first season in the AFL, Tom Powell, and his ability he's got that lateral movement where he can get out of stoppage really comfortably, and he showed that in the first year, which a lot of first-year players can't do. But obviously, development's not always linear, and he had his struggles at times last year, but he's a really impressive prospect, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Going into that second season, he had a bit of groin awareness in the pre-season, and we did take it quite easy with him that pre-season, so we took a steady approach, which is probably why he didn't have a great start to the season, but probably as the year went, he probably didn't get the inside time that we think he's capable of, and probably playing outside and forward a bit more, so getting him around the ball and getting him able to play to his strengths. He's got elite awareness and hands, and he does his damage in and around the contest. So, yeah, getting him in there and playing to his strength is the key.
Tyler Sellers again takes another mark. So of the VFL listed players, obviously there's been a real focus and emphasis on bolstering North Melbourne's VFL program, and history shows that successful VFL programs lead to successful AFL programs. You brought in some experience in the likes of Jared Leonard, who's going to be a playing coach. Connor Downey's got experience at AFL level, so does Louis Butler, so does Ben Davis, so does Nick Stevens being on the list. How important is it just to have that extra bit of experience, not only because they could turn into great players that end up on AFL lists themselves, but it's going to help your young kids around them be more competitive and play in a competitive team?
Yeah, 100%. It's super important. We've got a really good young list of VFL players. I think the other important part is that our coach's willingness to have them involved in the AFL training program.
Yeah, it was 17, wasn't it? 17 guys have trained across the summer.
Yeah.
It's a great number.
It goes to show their eagerness to get involved as well, but the fact that our coaches are happy to have them down and put the time into them is probably goes to show how important it is, the importance our coaches play on that as well. And we've got guys as well, like Jack Watkins has been around here for 3 years, and I think he feels like this is his footy club, so that's what we're after.
Yeah, that one club approach, and it's certainly something that's been spoken about behind the scenes here a fair bit over the last couple of days since we've been around the place. Just not only the one club between AFL, AFLW and VFL, but between administration, marketing, membership, everyone behind the scenes as well. We've heard the story about Clarko getting the wall knocked down, etc. But it's an all-in sort of approach, which is important at a footy club.
Yeah, it is, and that's what we all love about working at a footy club. That's what draws us to footy, and the leadership that's been shown here over the last few months in particular has been terrific, and that's been evident. And new people coming in as well, it's the first thing they comment on is how tight everyone is. So yeah, you're rocking up to work with a smile on your face, which has been great.
Speaking of smiles on their faces, North Melbourne will have one when they look at Charlie Combin. What a prospect.
Yeah, he's obviously had a bit of a bad run, the big fella with injury over the last couple of years, and you know, what he showed in his 18th year was pretty exciting, and we haven't seen a lot of it in the North jumper, but I think over the last month in particular, we've seen a lot more of it. Just getting continuity in him, but you know, he flies for his marks. He's got a great launch. He can go in the ruck and play his role. Yeah, we really need him to come on. It's an important part of our list, that key forward position, and at the moment it's looking pretty promising with him, but we just need the continuity and get games into. He's played 2 AFL games.
Yep, and he's kicked a few goals this afternoon and this afternoon, whatever it is now, Riley, I don't know, I've lost track of time. It's somewhere in between there. But yeah, he's certainly looked impressive. Is he the logical sidekick for Nick Larkey?
Yeah, well,
there's a few options.
Obviously got 2 down there at the moment with Callum and Charlie playing with Larks off, but yeah, it's a real fight for that position, and they've both shown some promise today, so it'll be interesting to see who gets the nod.
Can I just ask from a list management perspective, I remember you managed to get Will Phillips and Tom Powell tied away pretty early in their first season at the club. Is it a similar strategy for guys like Harry Sheasel and George Warlaw this year? Like, do you look to open discussions on extensions pretty early in their first season?
Yeah, we'll certainly be looking at that in the coming weeks. You know, it's pretty important that when you go that early in the draft and use that sort of draft capital on a player that you want to lock them away. But yeah, what we've seen them in their first couple of months at the club has been super impressive, just with their attitudes, their work rate, their willingness to learn, and we know how special they are and what they can do on the field. So yeah, would look to hopefully get them locked away as well.
Lovely delivery from Ford to Sellers there.
There's one player I want to ask you about that we won't see this year, obviously, in Braden George, but we saw him running this week for the first time after his ACL injury and surgery, which was incredibly promising to see. But can you just tell us about him as a prospect, firstly, but then also the thinking and the thought process that goes into recruiting a player like that when you know he's probably not going to play a lot of footy in his first 12 months, but you're still investing a pretty good pick in him, in a top 25 pick? I mean, what goes into that process? Yeah,
a lot goes into the process, obviously medically with taking a player with an existing injury. We rate the talent, and then we discuss obviously the medical with our docs and whether they're a player we put a line through or not. And Braden certainly wasn't one that we were going to put a line through. We assessed him really high from a talent perspective. And then in terms of using the pick where we did to take him, knowing that he wasn't going to play for the year, we looked at it in terms of we had the 2 extra list spots from the AFL, and we thought, well, let's use this to our advantage, and we can replace him straight away with a player through the SSP or an extra rookie spot. So we did that with Liam Shields, and we effectively have 45 players on our list this year, with Braden being one of them inactive. So we thought we could use that extra 2 list spots to our advantage and bring a player in. Even though he's injured for 12 months, we think we're going to get a player out of him in the future.
Brady, thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate the insight, and hope you can sit back a little bit now and enjoy some of these young talents that you've managed to pick up and get on the list, and see how they blossom and flourish in 2023. I imagine it must give you a great sense of satisfaction when you see all the work come to fruition and some of these kids start to show other people what you've already seen.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's, as I said before, the way that they get developed from a coaching, from a high performance point of view, is super important, and watching that unfold this pre-season has been great to see from our perspective.
Thanks for your time, Brady. Appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas.
Brady Rulings joining us as we enter the final minute of the Intraclub. Bonner comes over the top with a big fist. Butler. Noblet, who's done some nice things this afternoon, as has Sam Lowson. Hugs the line for Phillips, but just the wrong side of it. It's been a spirited hit out in pretty warm conditions since half-time, Riley, when the sun's come through. Not as punishing as yesterday, but...
I know, they're probably fortunate they played it 24 hours later, given it was hit 41 degrees, I think, yesterday at some stage. So, yeah, some nice cooler conditions, but there's been plenty to take away from it. So, I've loved the look of guys like Harry Sheasel, who's their top pick. He's the obvious one that's going to draw a lot of the eyeballs today, but Griffin Logue was really impressive in that first half. And the one that Brady said, Tom Powell, I think he's been one of the best on ground today and gave a real glimpse that he's a player that could potentially play a lot of senior footy next year.
Charlie Comben did some lovely things. Paul Curtis did some nice things as well. Griffin Logue, obviously, that first half was really eye-catching from him. A number of the players through the midfield. Great to see Will Phillips out there playing some good football and looking healthy. Ben Cunnington had a real impact as well. Really positive signs. And I know it's easy to get excited about a pre-season game where you're still undefeated for the year. It's zip and zip, right? I mean, everyone can be March champions.
Oh, they're 1 and zip now, the blue team.
Yeah, the blue team are. Yeah, the yellow haven't won a game all year. But yeah, I mean, if we're looking at glimpses of individual players and you're looking at little aspects of the game plan coming together, such as their key position flexibility and talent and the ability to move the football off half-back, and you know that sort of fluent ball movement that was always a trademark of Clarko's teams. There's a bit there to be pretty keen about if you're a North Melbourne fan.
Yeah, plenty. I mean, you mentioned there the key position aspect, and we asked Brady about it before, but just a lot of athleticism in that forward line now all of a sudden. So Nick Larkey kicks 3 today, Charlie Comben kicks 3 today, Cam Zerha kicks 3 today. They're players that we expect to play a lot of senior footy for North Melbourne in the upcoming season. So they all looked really good. They already hit the scoreboard. Transitioning the ball from the back half, I thought Harry Sheasel was really important in that in the first half, in the sense that when he played across half back, he's a really smooth mover, but he's also a really nice kick and a penetrating kick as well. So he gives them another option there. Blake Drury, we saw do plenty of that in the second half as well. So great ball movement. And another one that, I mean, you're often impressed by this guy. So he sort of, he doesn't get talked about as much as he probably should. But Ben Cunnington, I thought, was really promising as a midfielder in the first half. Second half, he went forward with 3 goals.
Yep.
And he hit the post as well, so could have ended the day with 4. So, I mean, his ability to play in multiple different positions, because they've built out their midfield depth so well over the last couple of years, and they've got Powell and Phillips that they can add to Simpkin and Davies Uniacke and Cunnington and guys like that. It means Cunnington can go forward a little bit more.
Which is good for extending the longevity of his career as
Exactly.
well.
And
you don't want to be crashing and bashing in your mid-30s.
Yes, and if he's able to hit the scoreboard, then it gives North Melbourne another goal threat. So plenty to be excited about. Love what I saw from him today, and I think it's going to be an improved season. I still have my doubts as to whether or not they can challenge for the top 8, obviously, and they probably wouldn't be thinking that internally, that they're going to have that potential to make such a leap, given they've finished bottom of the ladder 2 years in a row. But I'm really bullish about their ability to improve and get a number of wins on the board this year, and give supporters and give members at home that feeling that, yeah, okay, now we can see the direction that this footy club's going in.
This kicks off North Melbourne's Family Day. So if you are somewhere in the vicinity of Arden Street, hey, look, plenty of great entertainment and activities coming up. So come on down, beautiful weather for it. You can pick up a membership. You can do that online as well at membership.nmfc.com.au. You've got a whole heap of different types of memberships to suit all budgets and lifestyles. So whether you plan on attending every game or watching from home, there's a North Melbourne membership package that'll work for you. Don't forget Inner North, the behind-the-scenes documentary. That's premiering Monday night on nmfc.com.au. The club's social channels will have links there as well. So get in and have a look behind the scenes. Part 1 of their 3-part documentary series that sort of tracked the arrival of Alistair Clarkson and everything that's been happening around the place over the summer to really give you a handle on this new chapter in North Melbourne's history. And of course, if you are near Arden Street, come on down to the Roos shop, the new 2023 Puma range. North Melbourne this year having a modern take on the bounding Roo, that famous Guernsey that was so successful in the 1990s and everybody loved it. Some quality training gear made by Puma as well, with the official team hoodie, polo, training tee, singlet, shorts, all that sort of gear as well. It's all available either here at Arden Street at the Roos shop or online at shop.nmfc.com.au, and 100% of the profits, of course, go to the club if you buy it direct through the Roos shop. Riley, thanks so much for your insights as always. As you mentioned, a lot to like, and they seem to be building that little bit of extra depth that you require. They've got the young talent coming through, but they've still got a senior core. They've added to it with the likes of Griffin Logue as well to get that blend of youth and experience. It's so important when you look to develop what's going to be for them probably a 5-year journey back to contention.
Yeah, and it's going to be a long journey. It already has been a long journey. I mean, these are North Melbourne fans that have just seen their side win back-to-back wooden spoons, which isn't easy as a supporter. But the fact that there's so many people out here today that have made the journey to Arden Street and that are sticking around now to meet and greet some of their favourite players gives you a sense of just how much hope these people have that their football club can begin to take the next step in 2023. I think they would have seen a lot of signs that would have impressed them this year and a lot of reasons to be bullish for the future. I mean, Harry Sheasel's one of them, but geez, he's a big one, isn't he? I mean, when he's got that potential to play like he did today, it's going to give fans a lot to be excited about. So, yeah, it's going to be a long journey back to contention, but you can see how the pieces are starting to structure up now. As Liam Shields, we spoke to him in the second quarter, as he said, list management's like a jigsaw puzzle. You've got to fit all the pieces together.
Yep.
You can start to see the outline at North Melbourne. You can start to see exactly what they're building at this football club. So that's really positive to see.
And when we do say 5-year journey to contention, the journey's already begun. So they might already, without us realising it, they might already be in the year 2 or year 3 of the journey because they've already done the work behind the scenes to bring the talent in the door. That's part 1 of the journey, isn't it? So only in hindsight you'll be able to look back and say, right, in 2023 we're actually this far along our development curve. So when you say a 5-year trip back to contention, that's kind of from when you're bottoming out to when you can be back in the mix again. It's usually about that, somewhere between 3 to 5 years, but it's only in hindsight you can work out where you were at any given point in time. They might be further advanced than we realise.
Yeah, and development and improvement, it's never linear. I mean, it's never linear. Look at a side like Melbourne, who won the flag in 2021. They made a prelim in 2018 and all their fans thought they were incredibly close to winning the flag. They obviously were, but then 2019 and 2020 they really struggled as a football team. Even though the pieces were being built, the outline was being drawn. So in hindsight, I don't think Melbourne fans, when they won the premiership in 2021, would have been thinking that would have been the case after the 2019 season. But
the reality was they overachieved a little earlier, probably. Got a little bit closer, a little bit like Hawthorn in 08 when they managed to pinch that flag. That team wasn't really in its prime for another 3 or 4 years beyond that. So look, lots to look forward to from a North Melbourne perspective. Thanks so much for your company this afternoon. We really appreciate it. It's been an enjoyable day. Lots more still to happen here at Arden Street. On behalf of Riley Beveridge, I'm Jason Bennett. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Mazda BT50, built so you can do ute. Wilderness fans, you do ute. Grand plans, you do ute. Mazda BT50, you do ute.
It is a special, special thing, and that's what we're here for.
Steve, I thank you for your 6 years as captain. That doesn't happen very often.
Giles is probably my best mate at the club.
Luke, you can talk underwater at times.
It's greater than breaking records.
Great moment in history.
It's writing your own story.
It's greater than blazing a trail.
It's greater than being what you can see.
It's being bold together.
It's greater than the setbacks.
It's the comebacks.
It's greater than just the father-sons.
It's the father-daughters too.
It's greater than kicking a bag.
Larky! Goal number 6 for Nick.
It's kicking the sealer.
The king of marble.
It's greater than just a seat at the game.
It's about being part of something bigger.
It's greater than coming home. It's about the next piece of silverware.
The spirited traveller treasures every step of the journey. With bags packed, they unlock their appetite for adventure. Sail from Spirit of Tasmania Quay, Geelong, the new key to Tassie. Be a spirited traveller.
Mazda BT50, built so you can do what you need to, and so you can do ute. You with all the work demands. You do ute. Wilderness fans. You do ute. Grand plans. You do ute. Pause for hands? Even you do ute. Wherever your inner ute leads, your BT50 will take you there and back again. Mazda BT50. You do ute.